Good morning, family. Good morning, family. We are waiting for court to start today. We are watching the Preppy School murder trial. Didi is actually up for, well, the jury is doing deliberations. I shouldn't say he's doing anything, but the jury is doing deliberations in the Didi trial. So I'm going to give some updates on that today. I was super lazy with the thumbnails this week, y'all. So I got to pull myself together over there. But I do want us to get updated. I think Preppy is going to be starting within the next 30 minutes. So we're going to jump over to YouTube. Not YouTube. Oh my God. We're going to jump over to Twitter. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to jump over to Twitter so we can take a look at what is kind of going on. Now, CB, I emailed you back last night, actually. So make sure that you hit me back. I am interested in seeing what the judge is going to say about that jury question. Let me know if you read it or not. But let's see. All right. So the judge says, I'm adopting the government's answer to the drug distribution question. Can we put something on the record about sole possession? This definition of distribution would mislead the jury. But hold on. Both sides agreed to this definition without objection. So what is it? 1 second. They're trying to mislead the jury, says the government. The judge says they have been specific in their question, and so is the answer. Your Honor, can you just mark our defense proposal as a court exhibit? Yes. I didn't see, let me go back and see if I can maybe find what the government's suggestion was. I'm not seeing that he actually posted the answer, so maybe we have to, let me pull up NBC News and see if they've posted. If you didn't know, Brian Kohlberger took a plea yesterday, or maybe, I don't know, it was announced that he took a plea yesterday. Apparently it's a life without parole plea. But yeah, that's what I've heard. So we're doing Didi on trial. For some reason, it's not, I don't see it here either. So I don't know if the answer was posted anywhere about what the definition was. See, I thought that the judge wouldn't even give a definition of distribution, but more or less would be like, you have the law, you apply it as you see fit. But apparently, they've given a definition to distribution, and I guess until they read it to the jury, we won't know exactly what that definition is. So we're still waiting on that. Still waiting on that. Let's see if I can find. I'm still looking to see if I can find the wonderful definition out here somewhere. There's another gal who does tweets. Let's check out her page. The verdict form was released. Let's see if she's got anything here. Let's take a look at some of these replies. I mean, she's got a list of tweets. Um, we have a response ready. All right, let's bring in the jury and excuse them for the day. We believe the response should be a simple yes followed by a reference back to the jury instructions. I like to I'd like a bit more time to go over this with my team. My initial reaction is that this doesn't align with our position. Please confer with the government and let us know by 6 p.m. if you agree on the wording. If someone requests a controlled substance and the other person hands it over, does it count as distribution? The state's recommendation says yes, followed by a reference back to the jury instructions. So it sounds like the judge is leaning towards using that answer, which means that CB, I think both of us might be right in this situation. What's up? All right, 1 second. I'll be right back, y'all. All right, we're back. So yeah, that was a very uh yes to you. I read your email. We'll be responding at some point. Good, good, good. So it looks like they just gonna give us all like, yeah, like, go back to the jury. Go back to the mm, mm. Yeah, they don't look pretty. They don't look pretty. All right, so I guess in the meantime, in between time, while we're waiting for the Preppy party murder trial to start, I can go back to the defense's closing here. Now, we left off yesterday where they were talking about uh, Miss Capricorn Clark and her kidnapping and how she pretty much goes home every day and how the state charged with one kidnapping, but she went home every day for 5 days. So is it not five? I mean, what are they actually charging is what the defense is trying to insinuate. A polygraph examination from 21 years ago where she goes home every day. That's not a kidnapping. She is going home. So whatever happens, even if the building locks from the outside, even if a New York City building locks from the outside, and she is locked up there in the sixth floor getting a lie detector test for 10 hours a day for 5 consecutive days, she's going home. It's just not a kidnapping. And what did she say? She said, I kept doing it because I wanted to pass and get back to my job. Now, I have no doubt that a lie detector test is unsettling. It's the most that's the whole reason investigators use it. It's unsettling. So I have no doubt that she was unsettled. She was not kidnapped. Of course she was not kidnapped because the kidnappers doesn't drive you. How does it work? I mean, let's be honest for a second. You guys are stuck in here for long hours. At one point, the day ends, you go home, you come back. Anyone feel kidnapped? You are not kidnapped. You're about as kidnapped as she was kidnapped. She wasn't kidnapped, and neither are you. So that's just silly. But even aside from that, she said Combs had nothing to do with it. He didn't even know about it. Did she speak to Sean Combs at the end of this? No, never came up. He's charged with he's charged with kidnapping. That's real. The government wants you to go in the jury room and sit around the table and go, well, I wonder if he kidnapped her. We're going to have to think about this. Think about this. Yeah. I'm going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out if he kidnapped her in 2004 when she went home and see if he knew anything about it. That's a charge in a racketeering case. It doesn't get more serious. Now, a couple of things, and this is important. Capricorn Clark says that she got to the office and she met Sean Combs in 2004. He was starred on Broadway in a play, Raising in the Sun, played the starring role of the seminal play, and she has some involvement in this. She was involved along with him in the Vote or Die campaign in advance of the 2004 presidential election. He was also running several multi-million dollar businesses. So the idea that he would take time away from starring on Broadway, some people just star on Broadway and don't do much else. That happens in the world. He's starring on Broadway. He is involved in the middle of a very significant voter drive campaign called Vote or Die. He's running all these companies. Do you really think he's waiting on the edge of his seat? How's that lie detector test coming back? I can't wait to see if she passes it. He couldn't care less. He had nothing to do with this because he is plainly doing other things. Now, David James testified as well. He was given 2 lie detector tests, not kidnapped, but he did get lie detector tests. And he was very clear the lie detector examiner was a former FBI agent. He was from the FBI. That's what he said. A former FBI agent. There's no reason to think that they have multiple polygraph examiners. He had no problem with he said it was unsettling. They put stuff on my chest. They wanted to see how I was breathing. It's unnerving because that's the whole point of it. The point is it's just not kidnapping. They charged it as kidnapping. And you know what you guys have to do that have the right to do? You guys have the right to say, that seems like a stretch. I wonder why they're doing that. I wonder why they're making such a stretch. Why charge a kidnapping where the evidence is that he didn't have anything to do with it? Where the witnesses say, I never spoke to him about it. Where he's doing 15 other major things and where the witnesses goes home every night. Why charge him? You are allowed to ask that question and you can come to whatever answer you think is right. She leaves. She leaves. Capricorn leaves for a while. She leaves for about a year because she makes more money, and then she comes back. And now let's talk about the December 22nd, 2011, the morning of the day. Who are the players? The players we have, Sean and Cassie, okay? They're in a hotel room having a freak off, okay? We have Kid Cudi. We don't know where Cudi is. Cudi doesn't say where he was in the morning. It probably doesn't matter all that much. We have Capricorn, who is presumably in her apartment. We have police officer Ignacio, Police officer Ignacio, a 17-year LAPD patrolling the beat that he's familiar with. So let's take a look at the morning of December 11th. I keep saying December 11th, December 22nd, 2011. As I say, Cassie has two hotel rooms. She has her burner phone in one of the hotel rooms. Combs goes and gets access to her non-burner phone, looks in it, and sees messages with Capricorn about Cuddy. Might have been called Scott in the messages, it's hard to know, and possibly hiking. Next thing we know, it's 5:30 in the morning, according to Capricorn, and Sean Combs is at her door. Okay. Never been there before. She says, he's never been to my house before. 5:30 in the morning, he's at her house and he has a gun. I'm going to go through 5 reasons why he didn't have a gun. 5 reasons why he didn't have a gun. Reason number one, why he didn't have a gun. Let's start with that one first. Why would he have a gun? Capricorn loves this man. She's probably been waiting for him to come over at 5:30 for years. Hell no. finally came over at 5:30. If he asked her to take a trip to the moon, she'd go. And he knows that. He doesn't need a gun. He needs to put a gun against Capricorn to get Capricorn to do anything. She's so honored that he came over. He doesn't need a gun. He doesn't think he needs a gun. He doesn't need a gun. He doesn't have a gun. That's a very interesting reason. Very, very interesting reason. Oh, I'm back over in the chat. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I can drop the Discord link again. Just give me a second here. It expires after like 7 days, so I have to go in and hit the invite, copy the link, and I'm going to take it over to YouTube. Gotta find the thread. Oh. Gotta find the thread. Oh. There it goes. There it goes. All right, so jumping back over to the closing. All right, the second Capricorn says he wanted to know where Cuddy's house was. Here's why it doesn't make sense. Because Cuddy said Cassie told Cuddy that Cassie already told Combs. Okay, so you following that? I know there was a couple of steps. Let's go through it again. Cuddy testified that when Cassie called him, Cassie said, I'm worried. I gave Sean your address. I think he might go to your house. That's something that's going to stay in Cuddy's mind. I submit to you, that's an important piece of information. It's early in the morning, presumably being woken up. He's being told, I gave Sean your address and he might go to your house. So let's say that's true. He doesn't need the address from Capricorn. I mean, that one right there is that was a good one. Third reason, Sean Combs has everything to lose and virtually nothing to gain from having a gun. I mean, it's 2011. This is a silly reason. He's already Sean Combs. He's going to an apartment building that has security guards. He's going to have to get out in the street. Capricorn says he's sort of disheveled. It's not like he has a holster. He shoves the gun down the front of his pants. I submit to you, there's no way on God's green earth that he's going to take a gun out of a car, walk through the streets, get through security guards, and go see Capricorn with the gun. It's just not going to happen. All right, now that one's when you get to the end of that one, all right. Maybe he's not just walking with a gun in his hand, but we don't know how he walked up to the door. We don't know any of that, but to say he just doesn't have one because it's 2011 is crazy. Number 4, Capricorn would have not stayed employed had he really pulled a gun on her. Or would she? Because you just said that she loved him. It just didn't happen. There's no way that Capricorn, I want my life back is one thing. You put a gun on me and I'm the victim of an armed kidnapping. Just didn't happen. There was no gun. He didn't have a gun. Now that I can kind of empathize with. And the fifth and the best reason why he didn't have a gun is because Cuddy and Cassie say that Capricorn never said gun. All right, let's break this down. This is important. I really want you guys need to understand this. You guys need to understand this. Capricorn says, I wanted to warn Cassie and Cuddy, and so I called Cassie. She says she called her on her burner phone. I don't know that's possible, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But she says, I called Cassie. I wanted to make sure I get the statement exactly right. Okay, what she says is Puff came, got me with a gun, brought me to Cuddy's house to kill him. So Capricorn, when she testified, said, I made a phone call. I said, Puff came, got me with the gun, brought me to Cuddy's house to kill him. That was her statement. Cuddy got on the stand and said what Capricorn said was Shine Combs and an affiliate were in my house. She was in the car, all right, no gun, all right. Had Capricorn said gun, Cuddy would have remembered gun. You're not going to forget gun. Gun is one of the clearer words in our language. If you say gun, you're going to remember gun. Had Capricorn said to Cuddy what Capricorn says she said to Cuddy, Cuddy would have remembered gun. See, this part of it is where I feel like the defense gave Cuddy a lot of credibility. I felt like they're really saying like, believe Cuddy, believe what he says, believe his memory. But you're also giving him a lot of credit at that point because you don't want them to believe that Sean bombed the car. And I believe that Cuddy testified to approaching Sean and wanting to talk about the bombing or the arson of his car. So I felt like that was I understood it had to be done, but I felt like it was a little risky. He would have also had remember kill, another really clear single syllable word that you tend to remember. Cuddy didn't say that. Cuddy didn't say that. Capricorn said that because Capricorn didn't say that. And there is no reason if Capricorn sees a gun and if the whole point of calling Cuddy and Cassie is to warn them about danger. I'm warning you about danger. She's going to say gun. But Cuddy and Cassie don't hear gun because gun was never said. So working backwards, they didn't hear gun. When Cuddy speaks to the police officer, he doesn't tell the police officer anything about gun, doesn't say anything about gun to Officer Ignacio. Didn't say Combs had a gun because no one told him Combs had a gun because Combs didn't have a gun. It works backwards. I mean, it does. So when Capricorn says that Combs had a gun, that's not possible because if he would have had a gun, she would have said gun. Cuddy would have said gun. Police officer Ignacio would have written gun in his report, and he wouldn't have written it up as trespassing, which is what he did. He writes it up as a trespass. Had he believed that Sean Combs had a gun, he wouldn't be writing this up as trespass. So there's no gun. Capricorn didn't say gun because she didn't see a gun because there was no gun. Okay. A few more reasons why her story falls apart. The times don't line up. She says Combs comes to him at, well, I'm guessing comes to her at 5:30. And when she says she makes the call at 6:15 a.m., I make a call to Cassie at 6:15. Cassie and Cuddy at 6:15. What do we know from from police officer Ignacio? He gets a call at 8:20. He gets the call at 8:20. And when he gets there, the Escalade is in front of the house. So it's just not 6:15. And that's literally the difference between night and day. I mean, it's not like she's off by 15 minutes or 20 minutes. I mean, one is 6:15 and one is 8:20. So it can't be both. And she's clear as a bell that she called at 6:15. One of the things she says, it was a car chase. Let me read to you her testimony about the car chase. Answer: we heard a very fast moving engine coming up the hill. Question: what happened next? Out of the corner of my eye, I could see that it was Cuddy. Puff looked at my face. I guess I gave him a visual clue that it was him. And he goes, "There's that N word right there. What happens next?" Cuddy pulled up next to the Cadillac Escalade, came to a complete stop, looked, and then took off and sped up the hill. Puff and Rube jumped in the car and we started chasing him. How long was the chase? It felt like forever, but couldn't have been longer than a minute. What, if any, other cars did you observe while you were driving at this time? Cuddy lost us. We turned south down Laurel Canyon. We heard sirens and we passed the police. In what direction were the police headed? They were headed north on Laurel Canyon. We were headed south on Laurel Canyon. I guess it's Laurel, whatever. Y'all know I'm from St. Louis. Do you think Cuddy forgot he was in a car chase? He seemed like a pretty together guy. Do you think he was in a car chase where he whizzed by the police and just forgot to mention that to you? Officer Ignacio had enough wherewithal to get the license plate, missed the car chase. There was no car chase. There was no car chase. She is giving vivid details about a car chase that didn't happen. And you guys have to keep in mind about all of her testimony. The judge is going to give you instructions, give you a lot of instructions. One of the instructions I think he's going to give is if you find that a witness lied in regard to some material aspect of their testimony, you are free. If you think it's appropriate to do so, to disregard all of the witnesses' testimonies, all of it. You you guys don't have to. You guys can do whatever you want, but it's going to be one of those instructions the court gives you about how you can see it, how you can, if you see fit, look at witnesses' credibility, and that's all you really need. I mean, she's saying it. Her sworn testimony is that she saw a car chase, and there objectively, conclusively was no car chase. There just wasn't, because we have a police officer saying there was no car chase, and we have Cuddy saying there was no car chase. I'm checking the chat real quick. Yeah, I don't think they proved that either. I don't think he's gonna get the arson, but I don't know. I gotta read more into it. We're into the territory where I haven't gotten this far in here, so I'm just trying to go off the top of the dome about what I remember from reading tweets. But yeah, we'll see. There was no car chase. A few other things, small things, but maybe it's not so small. She says, yeah, from where I could see when the gate was open, I could see into the house. Okay. Police officer Ignacio says you can't. My money's on the police officer, Ignacio. Between Capricorn and the police officer, I'm going with the police officer. You can't see into the house. As I said, the statements are different. And the final thing, what's up with this call to Lauren London? Remember this? She mentioned this for the first time on the stand. She says, a matter of life and death. I have to warn Cuddy and Cassie what Puff's here with the gun. Then I started to ask her, well, did you call Lauren London? Yes, no, maybe. Yes, I called Lauren London. Was Lauren London on the phone when you were talking to Cassie and Cuddy? Her answer was, it's possible. It's possible. Man, it seems like everything is possible with you. That there was a third person on the call. She was clear as the bell. She was clear as the bell on the stand. She called Lauren London. And I asked her, tell me exactly what you said to Lauren. And her answer was, I came up here with Puff. I want to run away. Who remembers what she was afraid of? Mountain lions. I'm afraid of mountain lions. That's what she said. Puff brought me up here. I want to run away, but I'm afraid of mountain lions. Now, I'm not saying mountain lions are not scary, but if you were just kidnapped at gunpoint, you wouldn't be talking about mountain lions. You just wouldn't. I'm afraid of Sean Combs with a gun. I'm afraid because I just got kidnapped at gunpoint. What she said, she said, I'm afraid of mountain lions. I think we're done with this. I think there was no kidnapping. I can tell you what I think probably happened based on the evidence. Combs comes to her house. It's early. They talk. He gets there at 5:30. They're probably in her apartment for because they've been there at 8:20 because Ignacio is right. Ignacio is right. They're there at 8:20. So if Combs comes to her house, her apartment at the time, she says, we don't know that that's right either. Says at 5:30 they're hanging out for 2 hours and then they go over. That's the only thing that makes sense because what we know is true. What we know for a fact is true because Ignacio got the license plate. So we know that's right. We know the Escalade was there at 8:20. She doesn't give any explanation for how the Escalade is there at 8:20, but we know it's there. So what I submit to you makes sense is that this is not a kidnapping, but she doesn't want to give the impression that she is like part of this voluntarily. Is it voluntarily? I think it's what they're trying to say. Like she's a part of this voluntarily. Is what I think they're writing there. Right? Because if she's a part of it voluntarily, that makes her an accessory. He pulled a gun. He pulled a gun on me because the only way to make this against her will is to go gun. Because anything short of gun, she went on her own volition. Oh, maybe he was saying it. I don't know. Which is actually what happened. But she doesn't want to say that. Maybe it's loyalty to Cassie. Maybe it's loyalty to Cuddy. I have no idea. But she doesn't want to say I went there on my own. So she makes up gun. Because if you say gun, I gotta go. Not my choice anymore. I got to go if there's a gun. There was no gun. She went on her own. And listen, I'm not the man telling you that the rest of it's wrong. You following me? He went there. He was mad at Cuddy. He wanted to fight him because that's who he is. He wanted to fight Cuddy and Cuddy wanted to fight him. Remember what Cuddy said. I'm going to say it. Motherfucker, you're in my house, right? And these are two grown men who are going to have a fist fight because he's not a coward. He's not afraid to fight. And Cuddy, for his credit, he's not a coward because he's not afraid to fight either. So at the risk of sounding sexist, they're going to do what men do. They're going to have a good old-fashioned fist fight, which is why, he didn't do anything to that man's car because that's not his style. He's a fighter. You have a problem with me, I'm coming to your house. I'm coming to you're messing with my girl. I'm coming to your house and we're going to fight. No weapons. We're going to fight. One of us is going to punch the other in the nose and get punched in the nose, and we're going to have a good old-fashioned John Wayne, 8 o'clock in the morning, Hollywood Hills.
All right, so we are here again today to continue the trial of the matter of State of Connecticut versus Royal Valley. At the adjournment yesterday, the defendant, Mr. Valley, was on the stand. So I would ask Mr. Valley at this time to please take his place on the stand. Counsel, if you'd please place your appearances on the record for purposes of today's record.
Good morning, Your Honor. Mark Dorso for the State of Connecticut.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tatiana Messina for the State of Connecticut.
Mr. Valley, come up, have a seat. I just want to remind you, you do remain under the obligations of the oath that you took when you first entered the stand. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kevin Smith for the defendant, Mr. Valley.
Good morning. Is there anything that needs to be addressed by the court before bringing the jury in this morning?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
All right. So, Attorney Smith, you were in the middle of your direct examination. I'll leave it to you or defer to you as to whether or not you would like to be standing at the podium or take the podium at the time the jury presents.
I'll go ahead and take the podium now, Your Honor.
So I just want to address with the attorneys before we bring the jury in. I do intend to first give the jurors an idea of what the schedule looks like, and I just want to make sure that I confirm that with all of you. So it's my understanding that informal conference, we left it at Today, we will complete, I believe, the state's case. So I anticipate the state will rest sometime today. Does the defense, excuse me, does the state anticipate any rebuttal?
At this time, no, Your Honor.
All right. So if in fact there is no rebuttal, then we would be off tomorrow. So there would not be any court session tomorrow on this particular trial. And then I would anticipate we would have closing arguments as well as the court jury charge on Wednesday, Thursday. And so that would be July 3rd. We can conduct the charging conference on the record in the morning on the 3rd as well. And then obviously no court on the 4th. Deliberations, I would assume, would at least be able to start on Thursday the 3rd. And if we need to go into extra days, the next time we would reconvene would be on July 7th, which would be the following Monday. So that's the schedule that I'm going to provide the jury. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Welcome back. Good morning. Thank you. I would ask counsel to please stipulate to the return of the jurors.
State will stipulate, Your Honor.
Defense will stipulate, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we commence the proceedings, I just wanted to give you an idea of what the anticipated schedule is going to look like because I'm trying to keep you informed. I know that I said I would do that. Sometimes it's a bit difficult, and I apologize. However, I anticipate that today the defense will rest. I do not know whether or not we'll have any rebuttal on behalf of the state. I don't anticipate any at this time. That could change. So I do believe today will not be a full day, perhaps a half day at best of evidence. Once the evidence closes, of course, you still need to hear the closing arguments as well as the jury instructions as to how to apply the law to the facts you find as the jurors. In this particular case, we will not be in session tomorrow. So there would not be court for this trial tomorrow. That would bring us to July 3rd for closing arguments, the jury charge to you, and then the commencement of your deliberations at that point in time. We are not in session on July 4th. So if additional time is needed, and you'll be told that you'll take as much time as you need for your deliberations. So if additional time is needed, then we would be back to reconvene with deliberations on Monday, July 7th. Okay, until of course, and it would be day to day until of course the jury indicates to the court that they are done with their deliberations. Okay, so I just wanted to give that information to you now so that if we have a morning recess and you need to reach out and adjust your schedules at all, you'll have an ability to do that and you know what the rest of the week looks like. So thank you so much. All right, with that, when we adjourned yesterday, Mr. Valley was on the stand for his direct examination on behalf of the defense. I am going to, at this point in time, direct Attorney Smith to continue on with that direct examination. Attorney Smith?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Valley. I'm going to remind you again, you've got to keep your voice up. You are soft-spoken. We are competing with the fans, but everybody's got to hear you, okay?
Yes.
Okay. So yesterday when we were here and we left off, I believe you had taken us to the front lawn of 43 Laurel Glen Drive. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you were describing for us the scene there on that front lawn. as you and Mr. De Silva walked up to a group of individuals that had come out of the house. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe that you had told us just shortly before we dispersed for the day that you thought there were about 10 people facing you and about 10 people facing Mr. De Silva. Do you recall that?
Yes, but I'd say it was around 50 kids altogether.
50 kids altogether?
Yes.
Were you counting them? How can you be sure that there were 50 kids?
I wasn't able to see behind them because there were so many people.
It felt to you like there were 50 kids,
Yes.
but you weren't counting 50 kids.
No.
Do you recall how many kids do you recall yesterday you had described for us that there were essentially two groups that started to form, one that was dealing more with Mr. De Silva and one that was dealing more with you?
Yes.
And how far away were you from Mr. De Silva at that point?
Once the two groups started forming, it was hard to say how far Tyler was from me. I want to say 5-6 feet.
Okay. And you had described that he was trying to have some sort of a conversation with somebody that he was dealing with. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Were you trying to have a conversation with anybody? What were you doing at that point?
Yes. I was trying to have a conversation with Ryan Hines.
Ryan Hines was one of the people that was facing you?
Yes.
How many other people do you remember that you were dealing with in the group that was facing you?
After they separated into two groups, I want to say there was around 25 to 20 people just on me.
And where were they positioned?
At first, they were just in front. And then once they made the two separate groups, they were on both sides and in front of me.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to put back up there for us State's Exhibit 52 behind you on the easel. Where do you recall standing as this group starts to form around you?
I want to say around 2.
Did you see anybody around the red bush?
There was people everywhere.
Could you see anybody moving around behind the red bush?
No, I wasn't paying attention.
Okay. When you described being surrounded by this group that's facing you, were there some kids that were dealing with you more directly than the larger group?
Once they separated us into two groups, everyone was saying stuff.
You described interacting with Ryan Hines.
Yes.
Was he separate from the larger group in some way that you were dealing directly with him? Tell us how that worked.
He was just the person that I was talking to. There was people shoulder to shoulder with him, right next to him on my sides, but he was the one that I started talking to directly.
Was he closest to you?
They were all the same distance from me.
How far away from you were they?
Not even a foot.
That close to you?
Yeah.
Your Honor, I'd ask the witness to demonstrate with me what he was experiencing at that point.
If the witness is comfortable demonstrating, that's fine. Just please keep it in the well. Thank you.
Will you come down here, Mr. Valley, please?
Please, if there's going to be any statements, just make sure that you're keeping your voice up so the microphones can catch your statements. Thank you.
If I'm you, where is Ryan Hines?
Right here.
And is Ryan Hines as the same size as you?
At the time, I was a very small kid. I grew a lot since then.
And you're Ryan Hines. What is he doing?
First, we're just talking.
At some point, does he do something else?
Yes.
What?
After he starts yelling, I stuck my hand out as I was backing up from everybody, and he smacks my hand out.
Where were the other people that you've said were around him?
my sides, in front of me.
What did you do when he smacked your hand down?
I started slowly backing up even before that, and I was trying back up.
Take a stand, please. As you began to try to back up, what happened at that point?
I got hit.
Where did you get hit?
It was the side of my head, I want to say, but I couldn't really tell where.
And when you say it was the side of your head, could you tell which side?
I only found out after.
And how were you feeling at that point?
Everything just went black.
When you say everything went black, what's the next thing that you remember?
My face was in the ground.
Could you see where Tyler DeSilva was? What could you see?
Just the ground. And people were just stomping and kicking and punching everywhere.
Did you have the knife in your hand at that point?
No,
Where was the knife?
it was in my pocket.
Could you see any way to escape?
No,
Did you try to get up?
yeah,
Could you get up?
no.
Why not?
There was just so many people hitting me and just everywhere.
What could you hear?
They were yelling and just, it was so weird. They were just yelling like, I can't even describe it.
Did you hear anyone say, "Yes, sir"?
I heard a whole bunch of things I can't. It's a good.
Could you hear anything from Mr. DeSilva?
No,
Could you see the vehicle that you had arrived in, Jack Snyder's car?
no,
Could you see any way to make an escape from your position? Where were the other people that were kicking you, as you've described it?
all around me, on top of me, behind me.
Could you see who was on top of you?
No,
Could you tell what the person or persons that were on top of you were doing?
hitting me,
Where were they hitting you?
my head, the back of my head, kicking like the front of my face, my ribs, everywhere.
Did you get the sense that they were going to let you up and let you go? What did you do at that point?
I went to cover my head in like a fetal position.
Did that seem to have any effect? What did you hope would happen if you went into the fetal position?
That they would stop.
Did they stop?
They did not.
Put us there on that lawn with you in the fetal position. What were you feeling?
Hopeless, scared, terrified,
Why hopeless?
because they just weren't stopping.
How were you feeling physically?
Hurt,
What hurt?
everything.
Did you lose consciousness?
After the first hit, yeah.
What happened next?
As I was in the fetal position, covering the sides of my head and the top of my head with my forehead into the dirt, I was almost like hunched over, and I reached in my pocket and grabbed the knife.
What were you thinking when your hand touched that knife?
It felt like the only thing that would help me.
What were you seeing at that point around you?
My face was in the dirt. I couldn't really see. I just felt nothing changed.
Could you see Tyler DeSilva?
No,
Could you hear Tyler DeSilva?
no.
What could you hear?
Still just the same screaming. That's it.
Did the group give any indication that they were going to stop or let you up?
No.
What happened next?
After I took the knife out of my pocket, I started waving and just stabbing in every direction, just flailing my arm around.
Could you tell if you'd hit anything? Did that seem to have any effect on the attack?
No, it made me more scared.
Why did it make you more scared?
Because it didn't change what they were doing, and it didn't stop them from doing anything.
Were they still kicking you?
Yeah,
Was someone still on top of you?
yeah, there were so many people on top of me.
Were you able to get up at that point?
No.
What happened next?
I kept flailing my arm around, just trying to get them away from me.
Were you aiming for anyone?
No,
Were you aiming for Ryan Hines?
no,
You weren't trying to kill Ryan Hines?
no.
What about Tommy Connery? You stabbed him 4 times in the leg. What were you trying to do to Tommy Connery?
Get them away from me.
Did there come a time when it was just you and Ryan Hines fighting one-on-one?
No,
Did there come a time when Tommy Connery separated you from Ryan Hines and was just there with you one-on-one, standing up?
no.
Where were you the entire time you were flailing? How were you feeling while you were flailing around with that knife?
More scared than before. Terrified. Just, it didn't make him stop even though I was flailing around a knife.
Could you tell how many people were around you at that point?
No,
What happened next?
it's in flashes, but I just remember getting shoved into the car.
Did there come a point where you were able to stand up? How did you get shoved to the car?
I remember while I was in the fetal position and like flailing my arm around, I like rolled on the back of my heels and tried to jump backwards.
Tried to jump backwards?
Yeah.
Can you show us what you're talking about? Can you come down here for the jurors?
Yeah. So I was like this,
Okay.
and I tried to get to my heels to like push myself backwards.
What happened?
It didn't work.
What do you mean it didn't work?
There was people behind me, and there was nowhere to move.
Were there people over top of you?
Yeah.
What do you remember that being like?
Chaotic and scared.
Take the stand again, please. So there came a time when you were able to stand up. Do you recall that?
No, I just remember somehow I got thrown into the car.
You got thrown into the car?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, could you see Tyler Da Silva at that point?
At one point, when I was at the car, I looked over and I saw Tyler Da Silva.
And what did you see Tyler Da Silva doing?
He was also on the ground getting beat on.
Could you tell how many people were beating him while he was on the ground?
I can't give a number.
And do you recall how many people were around you when you got shoved into the car, as you've described it?
As soon as I looked back, the first thing I was looking for was Tyler.
Okay. Did you see any of the people that had just been attacking you?
Yeah,
Where were they?
right on the edge of the lawn on the curb, somewhere on the street going back.
Did you see Ryan Hines anywhere?
No,
Did you know Tommy Connery before this?
no,
Did you know Ryan Hines before this?
no.
Did you know Faison Teal before this?
No.
Did you know Jimmy McGrath before this?
No.
You say you remember getting shoved to the car. Did you make it to the car eventually?
Yeah.
And what did you do when you were at the car?
As soon as I looked for Tyler and I saw him getting beat on,
What was Jack Snyder doing?
nothing.
Did he say anything when you went to the car?
I didn't even open the car door all the way.
Why didn't you just get in that car and leave?
I saw my best friend and somebody that I loved. Nobody was helping him.
How did you feel?
It's still terrifying. But I couldn't just let him be there alone. I felt like I had to save him.
Did you think that Jack Snyder was going to wait for you if you went back in there?
Objection as to what Jack Snyder was going to do.
Sustained.
Did you have any indication that Jack Snyder was going to wait for you?
No.
You didn't open that door at that point and take out that knife and then go back and stab those 4 kids.
No.
You already had that knife when you'd been attacked on the lawn the first time.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Positive.
You weren't upset that you had been attacked and went back to get that knife? Had you known about that knife being in the car prior to that evening?
No.
When you got back to that car, you didn't get back into the car, right? Why didn't you just go running off back down the street, back down Farmhouse Lane or down Laurel Glen towards Farmhouse?
I just couldn't live down.
Why not?
He was my best friend. Looked at him like his brother. What kind of man would I to just leave him there?
What did you worry might happen to him if you left him?
If he was in the same situation as me, I thought it was.
I'm going to object. It calls for speculation as to what would happen to Tyler.
Sustained.
What were you worried about if you left and ran down to the end of Laurel Glen and Farmhouse Lane?
That Tyler wouldn't have made it out of there.
What happened next?
I found myself right on the edge of the grass and the curb.
How did you get there?
I just remember being there. I think I ran over.
What did you see when you got there?
Just another wall of people.
Did you see Tyler De Silva?
No.
Did you cross paths with Tyler De Silva?
Yeah.
You say another wall of people. Did you see Mr. Hines, who had been on top of you before?
I think so.
Did you recognize any other people that you saw there?
I saw a lot of people I didn't recognize, but I saw Matt Lokovich.
How did you know Matt Lokovich?
I've seen him at other parties before.
Did you go to school with Matt Lokovich?
I did not.
Do you know if he was older or younger than you or the same age?
I believe believe we were the same age.
Are you and Matt Lokovich the same size?
No. He was way bigger than me.
How did you feel at that moment?
Felt like the same thing was gonna happen again.
Why didn't you just turn around and run back to the car?
There was no way I was gonna be able to turn my back on that many people.
Why not?
I was just, there was no way to turn around without them really about to hit me or knock me down or something.
Did they give any indication that they were backing off?
No,
Did they start to back away from you as you stepped onto the lawn?
no, they stepped closer.
Where did you see people?
It was almost like a U, but wider.
Like a horseshoe?
Yeah,
Were there people to your right?
yeah,
Were there people in front of you?
yeah.
Did they give you any indication that they were just going to let you go?
No,
What did they do?
they stepped closer, and then I got hit.
You got hit?
Yeah.
Who hit you?
Came from the left side. I don't know exactly who hit me.
Where did they hit you?
In the right side of my head.
What did they hit you with?
I don't know. I think their hand.
How many people?
I don't know. As soon as they hit me, I fell, and I swung.
You told us before that you were wearing slides that night.
Yeah.
Were you still wearing the slides at this point?
No,
What happened to the slides?
they were gone. Just in my socks.
Was it wet on the grass that night?
Yes.
What else do you recall about being hit?
I just remember immediately after I got hit and fell, I swung.
What were you swinging at?
Anything.
What were you aiming for?
Anybody who was coming at me.
Did Matt Lokovich hit you?
I couldn't see who hit me.
Did Jimmy McGrath hit you?
I couldn't see who hit me.
When you swung that knife, did you feel it hit something?
No.
How were you feeling when you swung that knife?
Immediately after I swung, and I had one knee on the ground, I slipped, and I saw behind me.
What did you see behind you?
There was like a little hole, and I tried to jump and run away.
A little hole where?
So I swung, and I threw my whole body into it, and I slipped on the grass while my knee was down and faced backwards.
You're not asking the witness to come down and demonstrate this again. I think it's a little hard for me to understand what's described.
If the witness feels comfortable doing that, do you feel comfortable getting out of the witness box and demonstrating?
Yeah.
All right. Just again, please make sure to keep your voices up. I want to make sure that we capture any statement from the record.
You've described in your answers an interaction that I find hard to follow. I want you to show us what you mean by swinging, your knee going back. Demonstrate, please, for us what this is.
So, stay here, Matt Lokovich. Like this. Everybody like this. And then you hit me. And I'm like this.
Okay.
And I swung. After I swung, I ended up like this. I was facing backwards.
When you say you're facing backwards, which way are you facing now? Towards the road or towards the house?
There's the road.
What did you do next?
I was on my hands and knees and I tried to like jump up.
Did you go to stab anybody else?
No.
Did you go to stab the Mr. McGrath?
No.
You went to jump up?
Yeah.
Did something prevent you from being able to jump up, or did you succeed in jumping up?
As soon as I jumped up, I got hit again.
Where did you get hit?
On the left side of my head.
Do you know who hit you?
I believe it was Faison too.
Why do you believe it was Faison Teal?
Because I remember seeing the big dark color on.
What did you do next?
I fell on the pavement
In the street or on the curb?
in the street.
You say you fell on the pavement. What did you feel?
I scraped my hands on the floor
Where?
on the pavement.
Where did you scrape your hands? The tops, the bottoms, the fingers, your palms?
Yes.
How are you feeling at that point emotionally?
Scared.
Why?
You know, once I was on the floor again, there's a chance that they could all surround me again.
Could you see Tyler DeSilva?
No.
Could you see the car that Jack Snyder was driving?
At that point, no.
What did you do next?
I tried to lunge myself up again. And then I dove towards the car
Where were the kids that had been in the lawn prior?
in the road now.
Following you?
Yeah.
What happened next?
I got in the car.
Where did you get in the car?
The passenger seat.
Front? Rear?
Front.
Different than the seat you had been in when you went down to the house.
Yes.
Why did you get into the front passenger seat?
I was right there and I just wanted to get in as quick as possible.
Where was Tyler DeSilva?
At that point, he was not in the car.
Could you see where Tyler DeSilva was?
No.
What did Jack Snyder do?
He tried to drive off.
Without Tyler DeSilva in the car?
Yeah.
How did you feel when Jack Snyder did that?
I screamed and told him to wait.
Did there come a point when Tyler DeSilva got in the car?
Yeah.
Did you have the knife in your hand at this point?
No.
You put it back in your pocket.
No.
What did you do with the knife?
When I scraped my hands on the floor, the knife was on the floor.
The knife was on the floor?
Yes.
You're saying floor. You would agree there is no floor outside where you've been. What do you mean by floor?
The pavement.
Did you see where it went?
No.
Did you try to pick it back up?
No.
Why not?
I just wanted to get to the car.
Did you see Tyler DeSilva with the knife when he got into the car?
I didn't really look back.
When Tyler DeSilva got into the car, did you see him then?
Yeah.
What did he look like?
His face was destroyed. And he was holding his head in his hands.
Was he bleeding?
Yes.
Where?
All over his face. And it was blood dripping down.
What was he doing?
He was holding his head and screaming.
In pain?
And in anger.
Anger at the kids in the yard?
No.
Anger at you?
No.
Anger at who?
Jack.
Can we see Exhibit 60, please? Do we have it? Sorry, I'll grab it. We're going to watch Exhibit 60 here, Mr. Valley. Can we just see the normal version? Young man, approach your side. Mr. Valley, you would agree that that video does not show the initial punch that you've described to the side of your face when the groups were standing up initially, correct?
Yes.
But you did see there at least one fight that's going on the ground, correct?
Yes.
That's not you, is it? Who's that?
I love so much.
What was going on while we see Tyler De Silva being beaten on the ground there before we see you back at the car?
I was getting beat on.
Could you see yourself in that video?
In the beginning, you can see people hitting and attacking, but you can't see.
Is that the splitting up of the two groups that you've described?
Yes.
One stayed to, as we look at that, the left of the screen, and one went over to the right of the screen?
Yes.
And as this video ends, we see a figure that's on the far right of the frame, but we don't see you, correct?
Yes.
Where was that figure standing in relation to the U or horseshoe shape that you've described?
On the end.
On the, when you say the end, what do you mean?
On the end of the horseshoe.
Was there somebody to that person's left?
Yes.
Was there somebody across the way from that person behind you?
Yes.
Did you know who that person was that was on the far right that we can see there at the end of the frame?
No.
Do you know now that that's a person named Jimmy McGrath?
Yeah.
You did not know him that evening. You described getting back into Jack Snyder's car. Tyler De Silva gets into the car. How are you feeling physically as you're sitting there in the car?
I was in a lot of pain.
Pain where?
My head. And the main thing I was noticing was my ribs.
What happened next? Did Mr. Snyder leave? Did you remain there in that place?
As soon as Tyler jumped in the back of the car, he instantly took off. We started driving.
Did you know where he was going at that point?
No.
Did you care where he was going at that point?
No, I just wanted to get out of there.
And where did Jack Snyder drive the car?
He was just driving straight. Then at one point I told him to stop the car.
Why did you tell him to stop the car?
I wanted to check my ribs.
You wanted to check your ribs?
Yeah.
Why couldn't you check your ribs just sitting there in the seat?
Because I wasn't able to stand up and look at my whole body.
Did he stop the car?
Yes.
What did you do?
Opened the door, immediately got out and used the car light, lifted up my shirt.
Used what car light?
Like, as soon as you open the door, the car light turns on. I was facing the car, right in where the door turns, lifted up my shirt, looked at myself, and then jumped back in the car.
I want to be sure we understand this. When you say you're using the car light, do you mean the interior car light or the headlights on the car?
Interior car light.
So you're facing into the interior of the car,
Yes.
and what do you do?
lift up my shirt and look at myself.
And what did you see?
A whole bunch of bruises, but it felt way worse than what it looked like.
As you're standing there, did you take the knife out of your pocket and throw it into the woods?
I didn't have the knife at that point.
You didn't have the knife at that point.
No.
Where was the knife?
To my understanding, it was on the pavement back over at 43 Laurel Glen.
Did you make a plan to go back and get the knife?
No,
Why not?
I didn't want to go anywhere near that house.
Did Jack Snyder indicate to you that he wanted his knife back?
No,
What happened after you got out of the vehicle and used the interior light to inspect your midsection?
it lasted like a second or two, and I jumped back in the car.
And what happened after you jumped back in the car?
Jack started driving.
Did you know where he was going?
No.
How were you feeling at that point?
Still terrified and shocked. And I looked down and I was shaking.
What was Tyler DeSilva doing?
He was still screaming at Jack and holding his head.
What was Jack Snyder doing?
Nothing.
Did there come a time when the car stopped again?
Yes.
Did you recognize where you were at that point?
No, I just saw a car I recognized, which was Mackenzie's sister's car.
Who is Mackenzie's sister?
Madison Traficante.
And where was that you saw her car?
I just remember seeing it in the street.
Was that a street that you recognized from earlier in the evening, or was this somewhere else?
I can't remember. I just remember seeing the car and instantly wanting to get out and go in that car.
And what did Jack Snyder do at that point?
He stopped the car and let me out.
And what did Tyler DeSilva do at that point?
I didn't turn around. I don't know.
What did you do?
I went over and I got into Madison's car,
Where?
behind the passenger seat.
Who else was in the vehicle when you got in?
Keenan and Dimitri.
Keenan Frasick?
Yes.
Dimitri Arfanis?
Yes.
Will Sinjwald?
No.
Will Sinjwald was one of the people that had come with you earlier in Jack Snyder's car, correct?
Yes.
He wasn't in Jack Snyder's vehicle when you got out of it?
No.
And he wasn't in Madison's car when you got into it?
No.
So in the vehicle at that point, it's just you, Madison, Mackenzie, Keenan, and Dimitri?
Yes.
Was the music on in the car?
Yes.
Were you texting in the group chat at that point?
No.
What was Dimitri Arfanis doing?
I didn't look over.
And what was Keenan Frasick doing?
As soon as I got in the car and it started driving, he was looking at me.
He was looking at you?
Yes.
What were you doing?
Holding my head.
What were you thinking?
I was just in shock, scared. I didn't really know what to think.
Did you call the cops?
No.
Why not?
I was just terrified. I didn't even know what to do. Or really what even happened.
And where did the car go?
Started driving to Keenan Frasick's house.
What happened there?
He and Dimitri got out.
He and Dimitri both got out at Keenan's house?
Yes.
So now it's just you, Mackenzie, and Madison in the car?
Yes.
And what's going on in the car at that point?
Nothing. I knew my girlfriend was still upset. Didn't want to talk or anything.
And what were you doing?
Holding my head and looking at myself. I was just shaking and I didn't even know what to do.
Where did the car go then?
We drove to my house in Milford.
How long did that take?
I can't remember.
Did there come a time when you arrived at home?
Yes.
What did you do then?
Before I opened my car door and I asked Mackenzie to talk to her.
Would she talk to you?
No.
What did you do?
I just walked up to my house.
Was anybody home?
Yes.
Who?
My mom and my little brother.
And what were they doing?
They were packing to go to Florida.
What was their reaction when they saw you?
My mom just started screaming and crying. My brother was just like holding his mouth open.
Did you explain how you'd been injured?
At that point, I didn't really know what to say. I couldn't even understand really what had happened, detail for detail. I remember telling her that I got attacked by a whole bunch of people. She just kept screaming and crying.
And what did you do then?
Started crying. And then I remember going upstairs to the bathroom, just washing myself off.
What time was this?
I don't really know.
Did you go to sleep?
No.
What did you do?
It was just, my mom was panicking. And she asked me if I wanted to come to Florida with her.
What did you do at that point?
I said yes.
Why?
Just wanted to be close to my mom.
Did you go to sleep at some point?
No,
Why not?
I couldn't sleep.
What made it so that you couldn't sleep?
Everything. The way I was feeling, mentally and physically, just, there was no way I was going to be able to sleep.
What did you do?
Everything was so fast. I think I packed like a little backpack, and then we left.
Okay. While you were packing, did anyone try to contact you?
Yes,
Who?
Mackenzie, my girlfriend at the time.
She sent you some texts.
Yes.
We saw those texts here, those exhibits.
Yes.
How did it make you feel when you read those texts as they were coming in from Mackenzie?
It just reminded me how I felt at the time when she was texting me and stuff.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 97. Well, I'm going to try. Okay. State's Exhibit 97. Do you remember those texts coming in?
Yeah.
And she writes, "Are you fucking serious? I hate you. Someone just called me and said you stabbed someone. You just ruined everything, Lito. Literally ruined everything for me. Answer the M phone. IDK, what to do? Everyone is texting me." I want you to read for us. What did you write back?
I didn't do anything. I wasn't there. Stop texting anyone. Stop answering.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 98. She says, "Lito, everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows you're my boyfriend. What do you say?"
I know.
"Lito, everyone's texting me. What do you say?"
Stop answering. What happened?
"Don't talk to me."
What do you say?
Okay, stop answering anyone.
She says, you fucked up, Lito. What do you say?
How? I wasn't there.
If my parents find out, State's Exhibit 99, stop saying that. You say what?
Okay, stop texting police scans.
I'm not texting anyone. What do you say?
Don't text me, I'm going to Florida.
She says, there, texting me. When? Lito, I need you to answer me, please. What do you say?
What cats?
And she says, I'm so scared. What's going on? The State's Exhibit 100. I'm shaking, she says. Can you please tell me? I won't tell anyone, I swear. What do you say?
I can't text anything.
She says, I'm so scared. And you say, what?
I wasn't there.
She says, what's happening? And what do you say?
No, I wasn't there.
She says, I'm so scared, Lito. What's happening? Please answer me. What do you say?
Nothing is happening.
State's Exhibit 101. She says, can you please call me? Can you call me, please? When I get home. And you say, what?
Yes.
She says, Lito, his sister, just texted me. I'm so scared. I don't want to look. What do you say?
What did she say? Swipe it.
She says, IDK, I'm so scared. And what do you say?
Don't answer anyone.
How fast were those texts going back and forth?
One right after another.
Were some of them coming in before you could finish the other one?
Yeah.
What were you thinking while you're writing those texts?
Overwhelmed and shocked. I just didn't want her to worry.
Were you thinking you could concoct some sort of a story that no one would know you'd been there?
I'm object, it's leading.
Sustained.
You knew you had been there, did you not?
Yeah.
Or objection, it's leading.
Sustained.
Has to be stricken.
Call will strike the answer. Jury, please remove it from your notes.
Did you expect her to believe that you had not been there?
Objection, that calls for speculation as to what she would believe.
Let me hear the question again.
Did you expect her to believe that you had not been there?
Overrule, it goes to his expectations. You can answer.
No. I knew she knew I was there because she was with me.
Why did you say those things to her in that text?
Panicking, and I just didn't want her to worry at all.
At that point, did you think that someone had died?
No.
What did you do after this chain of texts?
I remember trying to call Tyler.
Tyler De Silva? Why did you try to call Tyler De Silva?
See if he was okay, what was going on. Called him 3 times, but he never answered.
Have you spoken to Tyler De Silva since that night? What did you do next?
Went with my mom, we got in the car and we drove to the airport.
Where did you go?
Florida.
Was that the next day, May 15th?
Yes.
What did you do when you got to Florida?
We were getting out of the airport and we were going to a car rental. And that's when I found out what had happened.
When you say what had happened, what did you find out?
Like the injuries and stuff.
What did you find out?
That somebody died.
How did you feel when you learned that?
I kept saying, no way. Like, that's not possible.
What did you do next?
I went over to my mom and I told her.
Did you stay in Florida?
Yeah,
How long?
like a day maybe.
When did you return to Connecticut?
Not sure, a day or two.
And did there come a time when you were contacted by the police?
My parents were. Not me.
And did you learn that the police were interested in your parents or interested in you?
And me.
And what did you learn about why they had contacted you?
That somebody had passed away.
Did you learn at some point that they had an arrest warrant for you?
Yeah.
How soon after you got back to Connecticut did you learn that?
I can't remember. It seemed like 4 days or something. May have been shorter. I can't really remember.
When you learned that they had an arrest warrant for you, what did you do?
At the time when it came out, I was sleeping.
What time was that?
Middle of the day.
And what did you do at that point?
I woke up and I talked to my father.
Did you make arrangements to turn yourself in?
Yeah.
Did you go and turn yourself in?
Yeah.
Just a moment, John.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you.
Mr. De Silva, I'm going to show you some exhibits that have already been entered. There's been testimony that these are from May 18th, when you turned yourself in. Do you remember what time you went down to the Shelton PD to turn yourself in?
I remember it being really late at night.
Did you go by yourself?
No,
Who was with you?
my father.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 34. Do you remember this photograph being taken?
Yeah.
Where was that taken?
I believe it was at the Shell and Police Department.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 35. Was that taken at the same time?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 36. That photograph also taken at the same time?
Yes.
Can you see in there your eye, what appears to be your left eye?
Yeah.
And does that accurately reflect the injuries that you had at that point?
At that point, yeah.
And I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 37. Is that the back of your head?
Yeah.
State's Exhibit 38. The left side of the back of your head?
Yeah.
And where do you recall getting hit that evening when you were first encountering the people on the lawn?
The back of my head.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 39. Is that your right arm inside near the elbow?
Yeah.
Do you recall how you got these 1, 2, 3 scratches and some bruising?
No.
Did you have that before
You were on the lawn that night?
No.
I'll show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 40. Is that your right hand?
Yeah.
And how did you get this injury to the heel of your right hand?
I was trying to run back to the car. I got hit and my hand slid on the pavement.
This is State's Exhibit 41. How did you get this injury on the heel of your left hand?
The same as the one on my right hand.
Are you left-handed or right-handed, sir?
Right-handed.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 42. Is that the top of your right hand?
Yes.
And State's Exhibit 43, is that the top of your left hand?
Yes.
Did the police ever approach you and ask you if you wanted to perhaps talk to them in return for an immunity agreement from prosecution?
I'm gonna object, calls for hearsay as to what the police asked.
Can you excuse the jury for a moment? So it calls for a yes or no response.
The question is also inflammatory. And it would also indicate, again, the defendant has Fifth Amendment rights, and there was testimony about the police going to try to talk to him. So now that it's out, I would submit that it's fair game for me to ask him on cross-examination whether or not he willfully went to the police to tell him his side of the story, which he did not. So with regards to what the police asked him, I think is hearsay. I think the question can be posed without content in the question. If we can rephrase it without any content in the question. If it's a yes or no answer, then clearly it's leading as well.
Your Honor, I could rephrase as whether or not he was ever offered such an opportunity.
Again, it
That
calls for
certainly goes to his knowledge.
Okay, Attorney Smith, you could be walking down a slippery slope with that. Your client is subject to cross-examination. I don't know what the actions of the police department were at this point in time, but certainly it'll allow the state the opportunity to explore if in fact there was such communication or any questions or anything leading to such communication and or the decision. So
I understand. Again, I think that whether or not he was ever offered such an agreement is fair game as far as to ask the question. I don't intend to go any further into it beyond that. I am not aware of any offers being made to him to do so, to the extent that he was ever offered an opportunity to come down and speak with the police. I think that he can be asked about that.
I would also submit that the police department is not under the authority to offer him any type of agreement with regards to that. That comes from the state's attorney. So with regards to that, if he had a conversation with the state's attorney or this office, that would be the appropriate question. Outside of that, when the answer is no, then there's nothing further to explore.
okay, so I want to be very clear here. So we're dealing with, first of all, a right to remain silent potentially post Miranda. We're also dealing with an improper form of the question relative to who has the authority to provide an immunity agreement. Obviously, it would not be the police who would provide the agreement. So if it's relative to asking what the state police, what the state's attorney's offer, that's one thing. The the attorney needs to be in the question and not the police. And perhaps that's the appropriate way to get around the Miranda right, because
I can make it more general.
we're talking about what the police questioned the defendant and what was said, and we don't have to get into whether or not the defendant was willing to invoke his right to remain silent or speak.
I can make it more general, Your Honor, and simply ask him whether or not he was ever offered the opportunity to sign or whether he was offered an immunity agreement. I can simply make it as
Well, really,
general as that.
The question is inflammatory. I think we need to lay some type of foundation to get there. The question needs to be posed, did you ever speak to the state's attorney with regards to this investigation? No, I did not. The inquiry ends there. It doesn't go any further about any immunity agreement or anything else. So the question is inflammatory. It's being posed to inflame the jury's senses at this point. I think there's got to be a foundation to even get there.
He's here to testify, Your Honor. And I could simply ask him, are you here testifying today under any immunity agreement?
That's leading. So that's a leading question. So I'm here testifying on my own behalf.
Because a leading question is a question that it suggests the
Correct.
answer. So if I were to say to you, you, sir, are not here today underneath an immunity agreement, are you?
It does call for yes, sir, but it's not leading with respect to the response being contained in the question. I will allow that question. The state's attorney is going to have an opportunity to cross-examine. However, the state's attorney should be very careful about approaching any type of.
But this is opening post Miranda inquiries now, because now the arrest warrant has been signed. He's entitled to Miranda warnings, and now we're being asked whether or not we're approaching him or he's approaching us for some immunity agreement post arrest.
And I will withdraw that question, Your Honor, with regard to the police officer. I will do that, and I'll do that in the jury's presence. But I do think that it's fair for me to ask him, sir, are you here today testifying under any immunity agreement? I don't see how that's unfair.
See this cross-examination. If you offered one, you offered one.
Well, my concern now is if that is the question, I think it opens the door to any post Miranda question. That's all I'm saying. In other words, I should be able.
Let me get into that a little bit further. Are you telling the court outside the presence of the jury that you did offer an immunity agreement? Because if you didn't, then it ends there.
There was no such conversation. It never was had. So if the conversation was had with this defendant, then it makes the subsequent question relevant. This question is not relevant. It's just, why are you here today? I'm here to testify. That's it. Has nothing to do with immunity.
I think his incentive to be here and testify, and whether or not he's testifying under an immunity agreement is fair game. Other witnesses have been here, and we've asked them about this.
The jury can infer he's not under an immunity agreement because he's charged with homicide and 3 counts of assault. So really, the question is inflammatory. He's being prosecuted.
He wasn't charged with 5 lazy broke.
Okay. So.
Can we approach, please?
Hey y'all, so just completely and totally off topic because this is what I'm thinking about right now. So I am going to be shifting my content from TikTok over to YouTube. It is going to be my focus over the summer, I guess, for the next, how many days we got into law school? We got a little bit over like maybe 45 days until law school starts. So I want to take that time to just focus on my YouTube content. But I want to know, what type of content do y'all want to see? What type of things y'all want to see from me over here? And then what questions or curiosity do you have about law school? Because I also want to give y'all like the inside view into my law school experience as a 30-plus-year-old woman going back to school. So let me know what y'all are interested in, because I do want to like create content around that just for y'all. So just let me know what y'all think. I'm looking for ideas. Yeah, I can use the community page. We do have a Discord. We have a Discord, y'all. So we have if you like to keep the conversation going outside of the streams, we actually do have a Discord. So if you haven't joined our Discord, make sure you do. I gotta find I posted the link earlier today. But we've got a link. Make sure you join. We still talk about different trials and stuff that we're watching. If any breaking news happens, we post it there. Shout out to D Wood for tipping us off to the Brian Koberger plea yesterday. Che is always dropping a link to a video that she's watching, and so does Beta. Beta is an active member in there. KP has been in there lately too, but just make sure that you join our Discord. We have a good time in there. And I also dropped the link for membership. So if you don't have a Taylor Unbridge membership or you let your membership expire, go ahead and get you a new membership. While I search for the Discord. Okay, here's the Discord right here. Here's the Discord link. I can't copy it from her. StreamYard don't let you copy stuff. They suck. They suck. Who blocked you? Somebody blocked you, Fee? What happened? Brian shocked me too, okay, because I just knew that Brian was going to I just said, okay, I see now. Sorry. I just knew that Brian was gonna take it to trial, okay? Because yeah, most times when people are like guilty like that, I think he's guilty. Sorry. I think he's guilty. When most people have cases like that, they usually go through the trial process to keep their ability to appeal, right? They kind of go through and hope for a mistake so that they can appeal it and it gets overturned. But for some reason, Brandon took him a plea with life without parole. And I'm shocked because I wanted to see that trial. I wanted to see the evidence. I hope that they unseal a lot of the stuff that was placed under seal so we could see it. And somebody need to snatch all that stuff up and put it in a documentary because I want to see it. I want to see it. Taylor, love your docket watch idea. It means we don't have to be stuck on any one trial. Yes. And that's the thing about being over here too, Starfish. We're going to bounce around. We'll randomly go sit in somebody's courtroom and see and listen to what they got going on. So we are not married to anything right now. I am like sad I won't get to watch Melly with y'all. So y'all got to make sure that y'all join the Discord so I can stay apprised on the trial when it starts.
Stipulate on the record. This is about Jerry's attorney Smith. You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Questions withdrawn.
Last question is withdrawn. Mr. Valley, you're here today testifying voluntarily.
Yes.
No promises, threats, anything like that have been made against you.
No. Are you asking if I was offered?
Objection. Ask that it be stricken.
But anything after yes, no, in response to the answer is going to be stricken from evidence. All right, it's non-responsive. Thank you.
Had you ever seen Jack Snyder's knife before that night?
No.
Have you ever seen Jack Snyder's knife since that night?
No.
Had you ever used a knife as a weapon before that night?
No.
Had you ever met Ryan Hines before that night?
No.
Had you ever met Faison Teal before that night?
No.
Had you ever met Tommy Connery before that night?
No.
Did you ever met Jimmy McGrath before that night?
No.
He told us before that you knew some of the folks at that party on social. Do you remember telling us that?
I believe so, yes.
What in the world does that mean to know somebody on social?
On social gatherings, like parties, on social media, just that kind of thing.
Even these folks that you say you knew on social, did you feel like you knew them well?
No.
Did you want to kill any of those kids?
No.
Did you want to hurt any of those kids?
No.
What did you want to do when you were down there on that ground and all those fists were punching you and those legs were kicking you?
Get them away from me.
Why did you use that knife that Jack Snyder gave you?
I'm going to object. This is asked and answered at this point.
All
Felt like the only thing that was gonna help me get out of that situation.
Thank you, Mr. Valley. Nothing further.
Thank you.
right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are going to move into our recess, so we will have our more than 15-minute recess, and then we'll come back to the state cross-examination of Mr. Ballard. All right, so court stands in recess for 15 minutes.
Here I am on mute. So, yeah, Miss D, my son, he's doing okay. He's still got some bruising on his tongue, and the stitches are healing. But he's pretty much back to his normal thing. Okay, so I am very, very happy. He's got an appointment on tomorrow for a checkup. I know it's going to be a wrestling match in there because he is so traumatized from the folks. And yeah, yeah. We're gonna jump over to Twitter real quick just to kind of get an update from the inner city press regarding the Diddy trial. So 1029, another note has emerged from the jury. It has yet to be read in court, nor has Sean Combs been brought back in from the holding call. I'm guessing that's cell. For now, lawyers are milling around. Combs' lawyer, Shapiro, Driscoll, Steele, I cannot say that man's last names, are hunched over a laptop. And Miss Westmoreland has entered the building. She's back in the gallery. Turns to confers with Diddy, with Combs, Xavier Donaldson seated in the middle table. Door to holding cell half opens. Marshall's checking to see if it's time to bring Combs out. Combs has been brought out, and his lead lawyer is talking with him. And Shapiro and Westmoreland are working together on something on Shapiro's laptop. So Emily Johnson goes back and hands the piece of paper over to Sean Combs' lawyer. Combs goes and sits next to Davidson and shows him something on her laptop. All right. We received a note from the jury asking for testimony of Ventura as to the Intercontinental and Keynes incident and the Daniel Phillip Essex Hotel incident. Daniel Phillip's testimony on that as well. And they have a disagreement. First, let me know if either side minds me bringing the jury out and speaking to them. We don't see a need. I've conferred with Mr. Combs, and we don't see a need either. As to any future note, let me know. So they've agreed on something, and now they're on their way to talk about this. So the jury has requested to see some testimony from Cassie on a couple of incidents as well as Phillips. All right, so I don't know why our connection is a little shoddy today. But in the meantime, in between time, I do have a call here in like 7 minutes. So I don't want to start reading, but Brian Koberger.
My gosh, it was horrible, just horrible. Every time you look at it, you see something worse. It just feels worse. It's one. The table, and Kohberger will serve 4 life sentences. He also will waive any rights to appeal. The Gonsalves family said that this was unexpected and that they feel the state of Idaho has failed them. My heart breaks for that family. My heart breaks for all of the families who've been affected by this nightmare. My friends, victims have rights. You hear me talk about this all the time on this program. Victims have rights, and they have a right to be consulted in such a process to offer a plea. They have a right to be heard throughout the process. I want to be very clear, though, the ultimate decision on how to proceed is always going to be up to the federal government or the state, in this case, the state of Idaho. So as for this plea agreement itself, the plea agreement itself, this is a good thing because it provides certainty and finality to what has been a heart-wrenching, traumatic, stressful process for the families of Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. Trial would add even more trauma into their lives. They would have to see that evidence. They would have to relive the nightmare of their children being brutally murdered. Now, if the case would go to a jury, we have to remember there's always the chance of the uncertainty of whether that jury will follow the evidence, whether they'll follow the law, whether the jury would even be comfortable imposing the death penalty. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, as the famous saying goes. Now, as for Kohberger, the stargazer, remember, that was supposed to be his alibi. He was said to be riding around alone, looking at the stars the night of the homicides. Well, I say that creep ought to thank his lucky stars this morning that he's going to get prison and not the firing squad. Because if he murdered those beautiful children, the death penalty is more than warranted for him. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
Did there come a point when Mr. Snyder took a case of beer from one of the 2?
Yes.
Tail off of what Sherry said. The first question from the foreperson about that juror seeming to not want to follow the law, right away, I cringe. That's the worst thing we can ever hear is somebody who takes an oath, hears all the testimony, swears they will follow the law, and then gets in the jury room and decides to go rogue. Dara, what do you think, please?
That's a great question. And it's one that, Julie, we actually talked about just, and you were with us Friday. You see how we get together and we kind of go over notes to make sure, do we understand this properly, right? Do we understand what the judge had said? I think that his question, the defense focused on the word cannot, right? Because the full sentence was, we are concerned that jury 25 cannot follow your honor's instructions. They're not saying that he doesn't want to, that he's unwilling. They say cannot. So I think it's, as Mark Agnifilo said, the lead defense attorney for Diddy, said that what does cannot mean? Is he refusing to? This man is a molecular biologist. He's a scientist by trade. So we're quite sure he knows how to follow instructions. But is he having a hard time with the minutia, right? There's so much gray area. There's so many charges. And then the breakdowns of them all. Is he just not unable to follow, or will he not follow? And when you question it like that, he might just say, okay, I don't follow. I'm not voting the way you guys are voting because I don't understand. And in that case, as your guest just said, that would be a hung jury. And I do think that there will be charges where everyone would not be unanimous.
Great points, Dara. Yeah, this guy's a smart guy, as you noted. And so it can't be that. So you wonder, is there something moral going on with him? Is he feeling like he can't sit in judgment? Sherry Bott, when I see you nodding, your thoughts on that. And also, if some of this may be hard for a jury of lay people who may not work in the trauma space, in the true crime space, in the trial space, understanding things like coercive control. That's a concept, you get tapped to explain all the time because you understand it in the work you do with survivors. Talk to us about those things, please, Sherry.
So thank you so much. I just was scribbling stuff down. Here's what I want to say. We don't know what kind of thoughts and feelings these jurors have had over the last 7 weeks. We don't know if some of them maybe realize as they're sitting in court, oh my gosh, some of these same things happened to me, but I didn't know that's what it was called. So there's a lot that we don't know about the jurors and how they've been feeling and experiencing, listening to all these different facts. So I think that that might be one of the things that could be happening.
Sure, very possible.
Sherry, does it matter that there are 8 men and 4 women, and the man that the jury foreman, jury number 5, is a 31-year-old finance guy from Manhattan, and he sits next to, actually in that courtroom, Julie, you might remember in that first row, they sit next to each other. So they've sat next to each
so
other
those
for
two,
8 weeks.
yes. So they are on the end closest to the judge. Right,
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
I know who you're talking about. Oh boy,
yes, those two. I know, right? So there's one that's he's in his 50s, and then there's the 30-year-old, finance guy. And right away, right, within an hour, they already have, from the streets, they've had beef within the hour, right? So you have to wonder what that connection has been over the course of 2 months, because they've dined together, they've lunched together, they come in the morning. How is it within an hour? And Sherry, maybe this is a question for you. Within that hour, how are they already determining that this guy is not going to be able to handle this?
I think that their problem. Yeah, go ahead, Sherry. Yeah, and then we have to hit a break. Okay. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think, again, it's one of those things where we don't know what's going on in the minds of any of the people sitting on the jury, male, female, 51, 31. The thing that people don't understand about trauma is there's a lot of people sitting in that courtroom who probably don't even realize that they've been through some of the same experiences. When you sit in a courtroom for 8 weeks and you hear about all of these alleged crimes, some people may be realizing, I don't think I can be on this jury because I do have bias. There are things here that I'm hearing that did happen to me.
Sherry, thank you for that. Sherry Botwin, Dara Kennedy, we've got to leave the conversation there for now, but I really have enjoyed talking with you both. Thank you for your insights. We'll continue on that verdict watch together this morning. You can see, as you saw Dara's live shot there, the jury should be here soon because we see the family arriving and the judge gave them a 9 a.m. start time. So we'll keep you posted and we'll put the clock up when it begins. When we come back, we're going to spotlight.
Amongst some members of the media, counsel gets a copy. So each day you get a copy of that transcript. So thankfully, if the judges want to go back and look at pieces of testimony, they have that there and they don't necessarily have to go to the court reporter. And if they wish to do so, then she can. But it would probably be a lot easier if they could just ask for references from the trial transcript. And that's why, we have amazing court reporters. That's really their job.
Oh, I'm so thankful for court reporters all over, specifically in this case, because it is a federal trial. So unfortunately, we can't live stream what's going on inside the courtroom. Obviously, in any sort of court situation, we can't live stream what's going on as far as deliberations. But in other trials, in some states, we can live stream all of the testimony, the openings and closings. We do it right here on Law and Crime. The difference with this case, however, is that it's federal. So there are simply no cameras allowed in the courtroom. And that's also why I've been so thankful for these court reporters, because we get the transcripts every night about 2 hours after court. And generally, I break them down on my show, Scandal, which if you're interested in P. Diddy or any sort of true crime, celebrity gossip, things like that, make sure to subscribe because we talk about all things Diddy, all things celebrity. And really, I do rely a lot on those transcripts because there's only so much a person can remember, a reporter can remember. I mean, we're talking 8 hours of testimony per day. The transcripts are really the tell-all. And I do think that's important for jurors to be able to go back because our memories don't, recall every single second of it. Again, I could just talk about the transcripts for days. I love them. I do have another viewer question, though, and this one is from Sydney Sexton. She says, question, while the jurors deliberated, is it just the jurors present, or is there a court clerk, a bailiff monitoring the process? This is a great question, Sydney. Elizabeth, can you explain it?
It's a great question. So typically they do have some sort of bailiff or court reporter that's available to assist them with whatever they need. Typically, and the way that it should work is in that jury deliberation room, which we've all seen photos of. And like you said, Sierra, we all wish we could be a fly on that wall. But typically what happens is that the jurors are left alone to be able to deliberate. And the reason behind that is that they are the ones that are entrusted with making this decision, that they should have the privacy and the ability to talk about the issues that the trial presented openly, so that there's no judgment and they can try to come to a verdict. And again, this is not like a civil trial where civil trial, you don't necessarily need a unanimous verdict. The judge had told them, you need a unanimous verdict here. Like I said, they're, have a really big decision on their hands. If he's convicted on all charges, he could go to jail for the rest of his life. So they want to be able to have that privacy to deliberate. But of course, there are bailiffs and court officers outside the rooms that can assist with whatever they might need.
The deliberation process, I can't talk about it enough, how important it is. It encapsulates the entire trial, and so much of it is going to be going back to the government's case. Because of course, the defense, yes, we heard from them on their openings, their closings, cross-exam. I can't say enough about the cross-exam. They were there and they were coming in hot and heavy for a lot of that cross. However, they didn't put on a traditional case, one that we might normally expect. The defense didn't call any witnesses. It wasn't, again, what we would normally expect. And so I have to remind our viewers, and I know that the judge reminded this to the jurors too, the burden of proof rests on the government. It's not the defense. They are allowed to not call a single witness and say, okay, innocent until proven guilty. The burden is on the government. And I know that's sometimes hard to explain, Elizabeth, but how important is it for the jurors to understand that?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's really important. And one of the things that the judges had instructed the jury when they were off to start making their deliberations was, Combs did not take the stand and he was not required to take the stand. This is a criminal case. It's not a civil case where he'd be mandated to do that. And the fact that he didn't take the stand, it shouldn't be used against him, or the jury shouldn't take that to mean, any evidence of culpability or anything like that. And I thought that was a really important reminder from the judge because, again, that's a right that's protected. Under the Constitution, you have the right to protect yourself from self-incrimination, meaning if you don't want to take the stand in a criminal case, you don't have to. So the fact that the judge had made that instruction to the jury, I think he really wanted to ride home the point that it's the prosecution's burden. The fact that he didn't take the stand, it shouldn't be used against him, which I wasn't surprised that he didn't take the stand. I was surprised that the defense didn't put on any witnesses of their own. I think there's could be a lot of reasons for that. They didn't maybe want to subject their witnesses to cross-examination. They might have saw that there was an uphill battle with some of the witnesses there. Who could they really produce that they could say would be an unbiased witness that could testify as to his good character? So there's all reasons for that, but it's really important to keep that in mind, and that's why I think the judge sent the jury starting off deliberations with that reminder.
There are so many things that the jurors are juggling, right? They have to remember, okay, we can't hold it against P. Diddy, Sean Combs, the defendant, because he didn't take the stand and testify. We can't hold it against the defense because they didn't call any other witness besides Diddy. They've got to think about the burden of proof. They've got to go through and look at all the predicate crimes involving RICO. We're talking bribery. We're talking kidnapping. There's so many things that they have to weigh, least of all the fact that we're 2 months into this case and they're trying to remember it all. So for those of you who are just joining us right now, we're breaking in for live coverage, a breaking update that the jurors have asked a question. We're about 7.5 hours into deliberation, and their question is, we would like the transcripts from 2 of the witnesses. Now, the question mark is which witnesses? Not sure, but I do have another update from the court. So AUSA Emily Johnson has now gone back and handed a piece of paper over to Sean Combs' lawyers. So that's the government handing a piece of paper over to the defense. AUSA Maureen Comey goes and sits next to Combs' Xavier Donaldson and shows him something on her laptop. So that's kind of where we're at right now, that both sides are talking about this. Sean Combs is in the courtroom behind me because we are live in the Southern District of Manhattan. So Elizabeth, what are you thinking with both sides conferring like this? It is interesting for me to see the prosecution and the defense kind of talking and chatting together because, of course, they're opposed sides. But what do you think is happening? Can you make sense of all of this with them discussing and handing notes back and forth to each other?
Yeah, it's interesting. So what I'm guessing is that there's a possibility that the jury is asking for further information. You know, if it's just specific pages of trial transcripts that they want to look through, I don't think the counsel would need to be actively involved in that. They could just produce the transcripts. But if it's specific evidence, one of the things that they had asked for was possible evidence of the drug distribution. That goes to the racketeering aspect. So if it's, if you're having jurors that are saying we need this X page of the transcript, you wouldn't really need probably that much conferral from the counsel. But I think because they're asking for maybe a bit more general information about the drug charges, drug distribution, that could be the reason why the attorneys are conferring and figuring out, okay, what information do they exactly need? What can we give them? And which makes sense because whatever information you provide the jurors, both sides need to be appraised of it, need to understand what's going on, so that, there's not any potential argument that they're being given information that could be skewed one way or the other. So I think that could possibly be why there's so much back and forth between the attorneys. Maybe it's a more sort of general question that the jurors are asking. And we've seen that come up. Again, they've asked for information about the drug charges, and that goes more towards the racketeering case.
Yeah, and we can talk about the other questions too, because this is not the first juror question we've had so far. This seems like a very active jury. If you were asking me, I would say they're definitely talking through some of the issues, which is a positive thing, right? We're at almost 7.5 hours of deliberation that we have going here, and they do have a lot of questions. So I think you made a good point, Elizabeth, about this open dialogue. And we do have some more questions, by the way, from our viewers. So this is a great question. Spensenable says, why no cameras inside the court? And it's interesting, those of you who have been following along, our girl Anjanette Levy asked me this question yesterday, and I said, I don't know. I mean, all I know is that federal courts don't allow it, but I don't know the answer to that. Why? I should have asked a question. And so thankfully, our producers, Alex and Jordan, have sent me a response. It sounds like the federal rule of Criminal Procedure 53. Now, this rule prohibits photography or broadcasting of judicial proceedings in criminal cases. And I mean, this is true, something that we've seen. Some states don't even allow cameras at all, including New York, where I am right now. So even if it's a state case separate from federal, they don't allow cameras. Now, other states like my home state of Wisconsin, they allow cameras streaming all the time, depending on the trial. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Really good question, though. And I'm glad I'm educating myself. I'm learning with you guys throughout all of this, right? Now, another one of our questions from our viewers, Kenny Alexandra, she asks, what would be the worst case scenario if found guilty on any charge? And that would be life in prison. I mean, what do you think, Elizabeth? That's right. The top charge, the worst he could face is life behind bars, right?
That's right. Yeah. And keep in mind also, it's hard to imagine because he just has always sort of had this more youthful kind of partying persona. But Sean Combs is in his 50s. He might be 55. Don't quote me on the exact age. But yeah, exactly. So if he's convicted on these charges with that amount of time and where he's at in his life, he could face the rest of his life in prison. So that would be the worst case scenario. Some might say worst case scenario could also be a potential retrial because, having to have prosecutors and defense attorneys and even Sean Combs go through all of this a second time. That's just a nightmare situation for any court case. Prosecutors want to be able to nail this, hopefully on the first try. So it could also be worst case scenario for Sean Combs is facing the rest of his.
You do remain under the obligations of your oath, okay? Return of all of our jurors.
Defense stipulates, Your Honor.
Thank you. Attorney Durso, if you'd like to cross-examine.
May 14th of 2022, you go to Lazy Brook Road for a party at Madigan Life Resorts, correct?
Yes.
That's you to the right there in the Ole Miss football shirt,
Yes.
the light blue shirt,
Yes.
black pants with the helmet on, right?
Yes.
That's you.
You said that you got there around what time?
I want to say around 9 or 10.
9 or 10. You were there for, and you testified on direct examination, you were there for about an hour and a half, correct?
Yeah.
And people arrived at some point after an hour and a half, correct?
Yeah.
Ryan Hines and Griffin Marcinzik, you didn't know them, right?
No.
But those are the two that showed up at Lazy Brook Road at that point, right? Yeah. And when they got to Lazy Brook Road, Jack, Tyler, and yourself confronted those two, right?
When I first got there, no.
Because Madigan Lifer didn't want anybody else in her house. So you were under the assumption that if they left, you guys could stay, right?
No, she asked everybody by the door.
I'm gonna move to strike as non-responsive as to what Madigan Lifer said.
Court is going to sustain the objection. I am going to go ahead and strike everything after the response no as unresponsive and hearsay. Thank you.
So at some point in time, let me ask you this, how long was Ryan and Griffin at Lazy Brook before you, Jack, and Tyler got involved with them?
I want to say a couple of minutes.
A couple minutes, right? So they show up. Ryan walks down with his beer in his hand, right? And at some point you talk to Ryan and Griffin with Jack and Tyler, right?
Yes.
And at some point in time, you say to them, you can come in if you give me some beer, right?
I was the only one who said that.
You're the only one that said that.
Yes.
And Jack and Ryan gave you a beer, right?
He did not.
And at some point in time, it got heated between the three of you and Griffin and Ryan, right?
Just between Jack and Ryan.
And at some point in time, that went outside, right?
Yes.
So within the span of a few minutes, it went from give me a beer to going outside into the driveway, right?
Yes.
Okay. And out in the driveway, there was a group of people surrounding the area, right, from the party,
Scattered, yes.
right? And you said, I think you said on direct examination, there were about 30 people at this party. You remember saying that?
Inside, I think there was more.
Okay, so there was 30 people inside, and then there was maybe 20 outside?
No, there was probably like 10 people
There
outside,
was only 10 people outside. 10 people including you, or 10 people excluding you?
including me.
Okay, and who was outside?
At the time, I didn't really like look at faces.
Right, you weren't paying attention, right?
Yeah.
You just kind of scan the area and you say, oh, there's about 10 people here, right?
No, I didn't really look around to see how
You
many.
you have no clue who was outside then at that point. That's what you're telling us?
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't know if there were girls outside or boys outside at that point, right?
No.
You just know that there were bodies. You weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
And when you go outside, at some point there's an argument going on between Ryan and Jack, right?
Yeah.
And you're witnessing it.
Yeah.
And you're outside, in fact, with this helmet on at the time, are you not?
Yes.
And when you're outside and you're looking at this argument that is going on between Jack and Ryan, at some point in time they square up, right?
Yes.
And they square up because they're going to fight for the beer, right? Jack had taken the beer from him at that point,
Yeah.
right? And he wanted his beer back. Ryan wanted his beer back.
Yes.
And when they square up, Ryan's standing squared up to Jack. Jack's across from Ryan, right?
Yes.
And to Jack's back left is Tyler DeSilva, correct?
Yes.
And behind Ryan is you, right?
Off to the side, yeah.
Right? And you're wearing that helmet at that point, right?
Yes.
And you testified on direct examination. They squared off. Hines stepped on my foot and I pushed him. Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
You pushed him.
Yes.
I want to show you States Exhibits 58. Stop right there. So this person right here to the left in the blue shirt. Who's that?
Tyler De Silva.
Can I get this? So this person right here is who?
Tyler De Silva.
And this person in the red is who?
Jack Snyder.
So right now you're behind, we can't see you, but you're right behind Ryan Hines, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Can you play it, please? Stop. Is that you pushing Ryan Hines in the head?
That's me pushing Ryan Hines, yes.
So that right there, that's a push, not a punch. That's what you're testing. That's what you want these ladies and gentlemen to believe, that was a push, not a punch.
Yes, I remember pushing him.
Can you play the fast version, please? Or stop it there. Can you put the volume on? So right there, what you want these ladies and gentlemen to believe is that you just pushed Ryan in his head, not punched him. That's what you're telling them.
I'm saying that I remember pushing him.
But the video would contradict what you want these ladies and gentlemen to believe at this point, correct?
I remember pushing him.
But the video, that's not responsive to my question. The video does not corroborate what you just told these ladies and gentlemen of the jury, correct?
I just remember pushing him.
Non-responsive. Did you push him in the head or did you punch him in the head? You remember pushing him, but does the video show you pushing or punching him? That's my question.
I pushed him.
What does the video show?
Me pushing him?
So you want these ladies and gentlemen to believe that what just happened there is a push, not a punch, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you also told these ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at some point during this fight, you go over and you try to get Ryan off of Jack, right? Because at that point the fight was on, and Ryan tackles Jack, right?
Yes.
And your testimony was that at some point, Tyler De Silva gets in and does the same thing, right?
Yes.
That's what you remember, right?
Yes.
But isn't it true that Tyler jumps in and also punches Ryan when he's on the ground?
I think so. I don't remember that happening.
Isn't it also true that at some point in time towards the end of this fight, you use the helmet that's on your head and you slam it into Ryan's head?
That's not true, no.
That's not true? Is that not what you remember? Or is that what you're saying is that the video is false?
I never did that.
You never did that? Okay. So let's play the rest of this video and then we'll go to the slow-mo. That's you right there in the helmet back there, right? We'll wind it a tick. Keep going. Keep going. Stop. That's you right there, right?
Yes.
And you have a helmet on, right?
I had the helmet on a lot at the time.
Play it. Okay. Now we'll play the slow motion. Now you just saw the helmet slam down on Ryan, right? And you heard the crack of the helmet on Ryan's head?
I didn't slam the helmet down on him at all.
So you want these ladies and gentlemen to believe that you did not slam the helmet into Ryan's head when he was on the ground?
Yes.
Is that what you remember, or are you saying the video is false?
I don't really see that in the video.
Okay, let's play the slow-mo version. So here's the punch, or what you're saying is a push. There you are here with the helmet, right? And here's you right in here. Ready? Slam. That's you right there, slamming the helmet into Ryan's head, right?
I never slammed him with the helmet.
Okay, so the video's alive. That's what you're saying. So counsel asked you before if you ever had carried a weapon before May 14th of 2022. Isn't it true that you used the helmet as a weapon at Lazy Brook that night?
No.
At some point in time, Lifer's mother comes out and kicks everybody out, right? But that's about 15, 20 minutes after this fight is over.
Yeah.
And after that, after you guys are kicked out, you get into Jack's car, the Honda Pilot.
Yes.
And you had no idea what you were going to do, so you guys were driving over to Trumbull High School, right?
Yes.
And when you were driving over to Trumbull High School, isn't it true that during that ride, you were laughing and joking about how you just got into a fight and hurt Ryan Hines?
No.
You never said that? And as you're going over to Trumbull High School, it's you in the back seat behind Jack, right?
Yeah.
Jack's driving.
Yes.
Tyler's in the front seat.
Yes.
In the middle seat is who? Will Sinjwald, correct?
Yes.
And to the right of him is Keenan Frasick.
Yes.
Mackenzie's on your lap.
Yes.
And Dimitri's in the back.
Yes.
And when you're driving over there, you indicated on direct examination you had your phone on you at that point, right? As a matter of fact, you had your phone all night, right?
Yes.
And at some point in time, you're added to a group chat, right?
Yes.
When you go over to Trumbull High School, had the group chat already started before you get to Trumbull High School?
I believe so, yes.
Right, so you knew that because you were already added, right?
I can't remember if I got added when we got to Trumbull or on the way there.
Isn't it true that Anthony Greco added you at 11:10 p.m. on Saturday, May 14th, 2022 to the group chat?
I can't remember, but yeah.
Well, who's Anthony Greco? You know Anthony Greco, right?
Football team.
Play football. You went to St. Joe's with you, right?
Yes.
He was at Lazy Brook that night at some point? Did you see him at Lazy Brook?
No, I don't remember seeing him.
But he added you to this chat nevertheless, right?
Yes.
And that was at about 11:10 p.m.?
I guess so, yeah.
And you indicated on direct examination, you were on your phone, checking the text group messages, you're talking to Will Sinjwald next to you, and you're talking to Mackenzie, right?
Yes.
And while you were doing all those things, you also had an opportunity to see that Jack was on his phone also, right?
Yes.
And you saw that Tyler was on his phone, right?
Yeah.
And when you get to Trumbull High School, how long are you there for? About 20 minutes?
I can't remember exactly how long we were there for.
When you get to Trumbull High School, you have a conversation with Jack and Tyler about fighting these kids at Trumbull High School, correct?
Oh, never.
Isn't it true that you were in the group chat telling kids to come show up to Trumbull High School to fight?
Yes. I remember telling them to come to Trumbull High
Right, because you, in this group chat, you're saying Trumbull High, slide. Right now, RN, right now, Trumbull High, slide, right?
Yes.
Because at that point, you wanted to meet those kids to fight, right?
No, we were about to be leaving Trumbull, and at the time I thought it would be funny.
So you wanted to meet those kids at Trumbull High School to fight, right?
No.
So at some point in time, you leave Trumbull High School,
Yes.
and before you leave Trumbull High School, you're again asking them, Trumbull High, slide, right? Slide means come here.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, you're in the group chat and you realize that the other kids are talking about an address, right? They said, we're going to drop the Addy, right? Does that mean address?
You're saying the other kids were saying that?
Yeah, people were
Yeah.
talking about giving you an address. Someone was saying, we'll drop the Addy, right? You remember hearing that, seeing that in the group chat?
No, I remember just seeing the address.
Okay. Do you recall when someone indicated that we dropped the Addy, you said send it in the group chat?
No, I don't remember that.
May approach the witness, Your Honor. But looking at the document, help to refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
That's you, right? Does your memory refreshed?
It says my name, but I don't see the number.
Somebody else have your phone that night?
I don't remember.
Somebody else you know named Lito?
I don't remember now.
No. So Do you recall asking for the address in the group chat that says send it?
No.
You don't recall that?
No.
Are you saying that this is not you in the group chat?
It says my name, but there's no number.
Okay. Again, at some point in time later in the group chat, you say Laurel Glen, correct?
No.
You don't? May approach the witness. Would looking at a document help to refresh your recollection?
Sure, yeah.
Lito, does that refresh your recollection?
Again, it says my name, but not my number.
So let me ask you this, Mr.
Did it refresh your recollection, yes or no?
No?
So let me ask you this. You recall being added to the group chat by Anthony Greco at 11:10 p.m. on May 14th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
You recall that?
Yes.
And you also recall telling the kids to slide to Trumbull High School, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you recall whether or not your name was Lito in the group chat?
When you join a group chat, it's just your number.
It's just your number. But if somebody has your number, your name in their phone, it would say your name, correct?
Pretty sure it would still be just a number.
But would looking at a document help to refresh your recollection as to whether or not you told people to slide over to Trumbull?
No, I knew I said that.
You knew you said that, right? So if we had a group chat with your name on it, and that is corroborated in here that you told them to slide, wouldn't it also be true that if your name is in this group chat subsequent and you told them to drop the address, send it, that would also be you? Or is there two Litos that you know of?
I can't see the number. It just says my name.
Right. So wouldn't it stand to reason that Lito is you in the group chat?
I guess so, yeah.
You just don't recall saying these things, right? That's your testimony today?
I only ever remember saying the Trumbull High thing.
Right. You don't recall asking them to send their address at Laurel Glen. That's what your testimony is, right?
Yeah.
And you don't recall reiterating the address that was sent, Laurel Glen. You say Laurel Glen, right? You actually say it twice in the group chat, but you don't recall that, right?
No.
That's your testimony today?
Yes.
And then at some point in time, you make your way from Trumbull High School over to 43 Laurel Glen, which is Tyler Rich's house, right?
Yes.
You didn't know it at the time, but that's Tyler Rich's house. You've met Tyler Rich before?
Yes.
Where have you met him before?
Parties?
What kind of parties?
High school parties?
Have you ever been to high school parties in the Berries? You know where the Berries are in Shelton?
No.
No, you don't? You ever recall going to a party on Mulberry, Strawberry, Edelberry, any type of street with a Berry last name in Shelton? You ever recall seeing Ricky Fiola at those parties?
Yeah, I've been to parties in Shelton.
Right. And you ever recall seeing Matt Lokovich at those parties?
Yes.
Yeah, you've met him before, right?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, you've had a fight with Matt Lokovich a week before this incident, correct? At one of those parties?
No, never.
So you drive over from Trumbull High School, and you indicate a couple cars were there when you got to 43 Laurel Glen, right?
Can you repeat that?
When you drove over from Trumbull High School and you got to 43 Laurel Glen, you indicated on direct examination there were a couple of cars there, right?
Yeah.
We pulled up and saw girls from St. Joe's High School. Oh, I'm sorry, withdrawn. You indicated that when you got there, you saw other cars parked in the street, right?
Yes.
And there wasn't that many people outside at first, right? I noticed a few kids, right? Isn't that what you said on direct examination?
Yeah, not that I could see at first.
And at some point, people came out of the house, right?
Like everyone came out of the house.
Right. And people came out of the house because you texted them in the group chat, "We here," right?
No.
Do you recall doing that?
No.
Would looking at a document help to refresh your recollection?
Sure.
And approach the witness, Your Honor. Your memory refreshed?
Yeah, I never said that.
So somebody else had your phone at that point.
No, again, it says my name, but not my number.
So there's another person named Lito in the group chat.
Anybody can name anybody they want in the group chat.
But you would agree with me that in the group chat, it says, from Lido, we hear, right?
It just says Lido.
And then it says, we hear, right?
Yes.
So at that point in time, people come out of the house, right?
Yes.
And when the people come out of the house, what time of night would you say it was when people came out of the house when you were in front of 43 Laurel Glen?
I can't remember.
You don't remember, but it was dark out.
Yeah.
It was late,
Yes.
clearly after 11, right?
Yes.
Probably sometime before 11:30-ish.
I don't know.
You don't recall?
No.
And you indicated that you saw people come out, and there were about 30 people that came out at that point, right?
That I could see, yeah, but I know there was more.
You knew there were more? How did you know there were more?
There was people behind those 30 people.
There was people behind the 30 people, so you counted each and every one of those people that came outside?
No, it's just an estimate.
It's just an estimate, right? So there could have been 20, right?
It looked like way more than 20 people.
Right, but it could have been 20, right?
Yeah.
So at some point in time, you indicate that Snyder stopped his car, saw a yard and kids coming out to the car, right?
Yes.
And by the way, at some point in time, you leave the chat at like 11:32 p.m. Do you recall doing that?
Yes, that was before we arrived at the house.
Before you arrived at the house. So you left the chat, according to the chat, Lito left the conversation. You recall that happening?
Yes.
Okay. So you recall getting in the conversation, you recall getting out of the conversation, you only recall a few things that you said, but you think the other person named Lito in the conversation could be somebody else.
I remember why I left.
That mischaracterizes the testimony. He has not said he believes there's another person named Lido in the group chat.
So you recall saying some things in the chat, you just don't recall saying everything in the chat. Is that a fair statement of your testimony?
I only ever said the things about Trumbull High School.
Okay, so the other things that are in the chat, that would be inaccurate, according to you.
Yes.
Okay. So you were going over there to fight, correct?
No.
And when you got there, kids surrounded the car, right?
Yes.
And you indicated that on direct examination, there were rows of people, 10, then maybe 30, right?
Yes.
Jack was talking, Tyler was talking because kids had approached the car at that point.
Yes.
You indicated kids you knew were there because you texted them in the group chat, right?
Never said that.
You said that on direct examination, right?
No. I said my window was up when all the kids came. When I recognized a few people, I put my window down.
And who did you recognize?
Ricky Fiola, Nikki DeJesus, and Aiden King.
So you spoke to Aiden King when he came next to the car at that point, right?
I spoke to all three of them.
Right. And you told Aiden King at some point when it got aggressive that tell your friends to get away from the car. I'm going to break a bottle over somebody's head.
No, I never said that.
And there were a few kids shouting at Jack at some point, right?
Yes.
And it became aggressive, according to you?
Yes.
But at first it was a peaceful conversation, right? According to you? Peaceful?
Mine was,
And
yes.
it got aggressive?
Yes.
But you didn't see anybody throw anything at that point, right?
No.
And then you indicated on direct examination you couldn't see anybody outside. So you only saw the three people you knew, Aiden, Ricky, and who was the third?
Nikki DeJesus.
So Nikki, Aiden, and Ricky you saw. That's it.
Yes.
You couldn't hear any threats, right?
I heard them screaming, but
But you couldn't hear any threats, right?
I couldn't make out what they were saying.
And at some point you indicated on direct examination people were hitting the car on all sides, right?
Yeah, before that happened, somebody punched Jack in the face.
I'm going to move to strike as non-responsive.
Sustained. Court's going to strike the witness's response after, yeah. Okay, so the rest of that response, please strike from your notebooks, your quick notes on it. It's not to be considered evidence. Okay.
So you indicated on direct examination people hitting the car on all sides, correct?
Yes.
And all I heard was banging, right?
Yes.
Didn't hear glass shattering, right?
No, I don't think so.
And the car began to rock, right?
Yes.
You indicated on direct examination you were panicking, right?
Yes.
This was never like anything you've been through before, right? This was scary, right?
Yes.
And at that point, you couldn't get out, right? You said that on direct.
There was no way to get out, no.
Because there were so many people, right?
Yes.
And at some point, you thought to yourself, this is not a good idea, right, to be here?
I just remember being scared. My girlfriend was crying. And I remember telling Jack to drive.
To drive, right? So Jack drove down the street, right?
Yes.
And when Jack drove down the street, at some point he stopped, right?
Yes.
At some point, was Jack driving up and down the street? You remember Jack driving up and down the street?
I don't remember that, no.
You don't remember that? Could have happened, but you don't remember?
Yeah, no, I don't remember that.
You don't remember. But at some point in time, he drives down the street, right? State Exhibit 1, you indicate that Jack drives down the street and at some point stops in front of the house near where we previously identified it as 36 Laurel Glen, correct?
Yes.
And it's at that moment that that Mackenzie gets out of the car.
Yes.
And she's walking away.
Yes.
And then you get out of the car at some point, right?
Yes, right after.
While you're getting out of the car, you're pissed off and you say, holy shit, they really fucked up your car, Jack. Give me the knife. Where's the knife? Give me the knife, right?
No. Immediately after I got out, or Mackenzie got out.
A move to strike is non-responsive. Everything after no.
Court is going to go ahead and strike the response after the witness indicated the word no. Please discard that from your notes. Thank you.
Now, you get out of the car with the knife, correct, at this point?
No.
Because according to you, on direct examination, Jack gave you the knife when you got out of the car at that point, correct?
Yes.
Right. So you did get out of the car with the knife at this point, right? When
Objection, Your Honor. That mischaracterizes the testimony. He did not testify that he got out of with the knife.
So the witness indicated yes. I'm going to go back to the last question. I'm going to hear the last question again.
So Jack gave you the knife when you got out of the car, correct?
I was already outside of the car, yes.
And he gave you the knife at that point, right?
Yes.
And he gave you the knife when you got out of the car, at that point when the car initially stopped, right? Car stops, you get out, you get the knife, right?
Yes.
So you're in possession of the knife when you initially get out of the car on May 14th of 2022, right?
Objection, Your Honor. I think that mischaracterizes the testimony.
Sustained.
When you get out of the car stops in front of 36 Laurel Glen. You get out of the car, right?
After Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie's walking down the street, right?
Yes.
And when you're out of the car, Jack gives you the knife, right?
Tosses it at me, yes.
Right. And at some point after that, Tyler DeSilva gets out of the car and walks around the car towards you, right?
No, Tyler DeSilva was already next to me when that happened.
So it's your testimony that Tyler was next to you when Jack throws you the knife. That's your testimony.
As I remember it, yeah.
I'm going to show you states 44 again. This is states 44. This person right here, standing right here with the dark pants and the shirt, is that you? Can you see where I'm pointing? Is that you out of the car?
Yes.
So you're in front of the car, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point we see Tyler DeSilva get out of the car and walk next to you, right?
Yes.
So your testimony is as Jack's driving up the street, he tosses you the knife at this point?
Yes. And you can see
I would
at one point he stopped.
everything after yes.
Pause for a yes or no answer. I'm going to strike everything after yes, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, so please make notation accordingly.
And by the way, when Jack gives you the knife, do you catch it? Does
No.
it fall?
It fell.
It fell. Okay.
Yes.
Play.
That's when it falls.
Stop. Stop. So thank you. So we didn't see you bend down to pick anything up, correct?
I bent down to pick it up when I
You
was.
had to strike everything after, no.
Court is calling this tray. The witness's response after no.
So at this point in time, in States 44, you're in possession of the knife at this point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Stop. Now, these are the kids from 43 Laurel Glen that just ran down towards you, right?
Yes.
When they came down the street, did they have any weapons on them?
I didn't look to see if they had any weapons.
But you didn't see any weapons, right?
I didn't look to see if they had any weapons.
They didn't have any weapons on them, right?
I didn't look to see if they had any weapons.
So you didn't see any weapons on them that night, right?
I didn't look. How would I?
So at this point in time, there's no fighting going on down there, right?
No.
And after this video stops, no fight occurs down this end of the street, right?
As they ran down, we said.
Yes or no answer. No fight happens after this video stops, right? No physical altercation happens down this end of the street, correct?
No.
Right. So you have the knife. You don't see anybody else with a weapon. Jack drives off. Mackenzie's down the other end of the street, right? She's at the corner of farmhouse in Laurel Glen.
Yes.
And Dimitri, Will, and Keenan are still in the car as the car drives away, right?
Yes.
So when Jack gave you the knife, they were in the vicinity of seeing that happen, correct?
They were in the car.
Right. Can you play the second one? So again, this is a different angle, right? Mackenzie's walking down the street, and this is you out here, just above this bush on the right side. And here comes Tyler walking to your right, right? So car drives away. You have the knife at this point, right?
Yes.
Tyler Rich runs up to you, right? Is that Tyler Rich that ran up the street, do you recall?
I saw like two kids run past.
Do you recall them throwing something at the car?
Yes.
Recall who that was?
No.
Stop. So at some point, do you recall who ran down the street?
Like in total?
No, I'm gonna ask you first if you were familiar with anybody who ran down the street at that point.
Yes.
Ricky Fiola, right?
Yes.
Tyler Rich.
Yes.
Are you familiar with Ty Wood?
Yes.
Did he run down the street?
I can't remember seeing him.
Charlie Connery, are you familiar with him?
No.
You're not familiar with him. Do you know? So you don't know that the person that testified for the state as our last witness, you can't recall if he ran down the street?
No, I didn't see him.
But there were about 7 kids that ran down the street, right?
I don't know exactly how many.
Or was there more than 7 or less than 7?
I'm not sure.
You would agree with me there was more than 3 kids, right? Clearly in the video, there's more than 3 kids from the Shelton party?
Yes.
Right? And would you also agree with me that after this particular part of the video ends, there's a whole interaction that happens down the end of the street that's not captured on video, right?
Yes.
And that interaction that's happening is you having the knife, right?
Yeah, it's in my pocket.
You have this interaction with Tyler Rich, right?
Yes, he sprays me with
And he sprays you with the WD-40, right?
Yes.
And at some point in time, shortly after that happens, Ricky Fiola comes and talks to you, right?
Like right after, yes.
Right. Because in your words, you indicated that he came up to me, talked to me, made me feel better about the situation, right? Because you had just gotten sprayed, right?
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, between the time you were in the car when you got to 43 Laurel Glen, up until the time where you spoke to Ricky Fiola, the people at that party indicated to you they didn't want you at the house. You were supposed to leave, right?
I guess so, yeah.
So when you spoke to Ricky, not what he said, but during your conversation, pretty much said you should not be here, you should leave, right?
No,
So he actually said you should stay?
he was talking bad about Tyler Rich.
Right. And then he said you guys should probably just leave, right?
No, he never said that.
He never said that. He said probably you should just hang out in the corner and, figure it out, right?
I can tell you what he said.
Well, I don't want to know what he said, but the reality is, the conversation you had with Ricky Fiola was, hey, I was really messed up that he sprayed you with WD-40, but look, there's a lot of us and there's only a few of you guys, it's not smart, you probably should just leave. Are you saying that conversation didn't happen?
That's not what he said.
Okay. So, but nevertheless, these 3, 4, or 5 kids that run down the street, including Tyler Rich, they do not engage you in a physical altercation down the street, correct?
Just sprayed me with WD-40.
And walked away then, right?
Yeah.
He walked back to his house, right?
Yes.
And when he walked back to his house, you guys stayed down the street for a little bit, right?
Yes.
And so your testimony today is you were never told to leave the area?
I've never heard anybody say that. Ricky Fiola 100% didn't say that.
And at that point, you said on direct examination, you were scared and confused, right?
Yes.
Terrified about the group of people that were down the road, right?
Just everything.
And you were scared even when the people walked down the street, right? When they came down the street towards Farmhouse Road, that scared you?
When they were running at us, yes.
You were panicked?
Yeah.
You were concerned?
Yes.
You had your phone on you at that point, right?
Most likely, yes.
Most likely, right. So, at any point between the time you got out of the car and the time the kids ran down the street, you never called for somebody to give you a ride home, right?
No, Mackenzie's sister was going to give me a ride.
And you never called for an Uber, right? To bring you out of that situation, right?
Mackenzie's sister was going to give me a ride home.
And you never called for a lift, right? Because Mackenzie's sister was coming to pick you up?
Yes.
So Mackenzie's sister was going to pick you up at the corner of Farmhouse Road and Laurel Glen, right?
Yes.
You knew that because you had a conversation with Mackenzie about getting a ride home.
Yes.
Because on direct examination, you indicated that you walked over to Mackenzie and said, hey, listen, can I get a ride home? I don't want to be here anymore, right?
I don't remember my exact words, but I remember asking her for a ride.
Because you were concerned.
Yes.
You wanted to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
Mackenzie had her head down, right?
Yes.
She was on her phone. Safe to say she wasn't paying attention to things going on around her?
Yes.
Isn't it true Mackenzie was mad at you at that point because she didn't want to go to Tyler Rich's house and you didn't stick up for her?
No, she initially started crying and got upset when they were hitting the car.
And by the way, the state called 25 witnesses in this case, right?
Yes.
And you were here for all 25 of those witnesses, right?
Yes.
And the story you're telling us today is the first time we've heard this story, right?
I was never asked by anybody to tell
I'm
my side of the
going
story.
to move to strike as non-responsive.
So the court's going to go ahead and strike the witness's response to the question as being non-responsive. Call for a yes or no.
So this is the first time we're hearing this story, correct?
Yes.
And Mackenzie knew a lot of those kids at that house, right? You knew that.
Yes.
And she didn't want to be there, right?
After they started hitting the car, she started crying.
Right. And at some point in time after this video ends, Will gets out of the car, right?
Yes.
And Keenan gets out of the car, right?
Yes.
And Dimitri gets out of the car, right?
Yes.
And at some point in time, they sit down at the corner because they're waiting for a ride, right?
I remember them sitting around Mackenzie at one point.
But you were not under the impression that they were also waiting for Mackenzie's sister?
The only person I knew that was waiting for a ride, like, definitely was Will Singemore because he was calling his girlfriend.
Because his girlfriend, Carolyn Takis, was coming to get him, right?
Yes.
Right. So as far as you were concerned, Carolyn was coming to get Will, and Dimitri and Keenan had no ride home at that point? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
But nevertheless, Will, Keenan, Dimitri, and Mackenzie don't get back in the car with Jack at some point, right?
Can you say that again?
At some point in time, Jack, you, and De Silva get in the car and go back down to 43 Laurel Glen, right?
Yes.
Right. But when that happens, Will doesn't get in the car, right?
Nobody else gets in the car.
Right. Mackenzie doesn't get in the car, right?
Nobody else got.
Dimitri doesn't get in the car, right? And neither does Keenan, right? Because they didn't want to get involved with what was going to happen, right?
Because they were asked not to.
I'm going to move to strike as non-responsive. Ask that he answer in a yes or no.
We'll go ahead and strike witness's last response to the question called for a yes or no answer. Please remove it from the meeting.
So they didn't get in the car because they didn't want to be involved with what was going to happen, correct?
No.
And at some point in time, you indicate that you say Tyler's your best friend, right? Growing up, you met him since 8 years old?
Yes.
And Jack was only just an acquaintance from St. Joe's, right? You weren't really friends with him?
Not as close as Tyler.
Right. But you all hung out, right?
Yes.
And you all would go to parties together on the weekends, right?
Yes.
You guys were football buddies, right?
Yeah, we all played football. Yeah.
In fact, it wasn't uncommon for Jack to pick you and Tyler up and go to a party, right?
He was always the one that drove.
He was always the one that drove, right? And when you guys are in school, you guys would always hang out and talk, right?
At football practice, not really.
At football. So you didn't associate with Jack in school, just in football practice? Is that
We never had any of the same classes.
Okay. So you never saw him in the hallway and said, "Hey, Jack, what's up?" So you associated with him, right? But Jack was always the one that drove you guys. It wasn't Tyler, right?
Not always, but if we were going out with Jack, he was driving.
But you went out with him a lot, is the point, right? Whenever you would go out, it would be you, Tyler, and Jack, right?
No.
No? Even though Jack always drove, majority of the time?
Jack always drove when we went out with him.
Okay, but you didn't go out with him a lot? That's what you're saying now? Okay. So at some point in time, there's a conversation, you say on direct examination, there's a conversation between Jack and Tyler in this area, right? You don't know what the conversation's about?
It was something.
I don't want to know what it was about. Do you know what it was about, or yes or no?
Somewhat, yes.
You know somewhat what it was about. So, and based on that information, you were still scared,
Yes.
and you were still concerned, and you were still worried about what could happen.
Yes.
And at some point in time, Jack gets in the car,
Yes.
Tyler gets in the car,
Yes.
and you get in the car,
Yes.
and you're still concerned, right? And you go back down to 43 Laurel Glen, right?
Yes.
Because you're still concerned, right?
My best friend was going. I was going with.
Non-responsive. I would ask them, that's to be stricken.
It's going to strike the witness's response as non-responsive, called for a yes or no. Thank you.
So, at some point in time, you get in the car with Jack and Tyler, correct?
Yes.
And you are going to go back to 43 Laurel Glen, right?
Yes.
And you're going to go and talk to some kids that had just damaged the car, right?
Yes.
Threw stuff at the car, right?
Yes.
Bounced on the car, right?
Yes.
Almost withdrawn. Did these things for about a 30 to 40-second period, right? When you were initially in front of 43 Laurel Glen?
I don't know how long it was.
Was it fast? Was it fast interaction or was it slow interaction?
I can't remember.
But nevertheless, these are the kids that damaged the car, right?
Yes.
And you were going back to talk to them, right?
Yes.
These are the same kids, right, that you said you were very concerned about,
Yes.
you were very worried about,
Yes.
you were panicking when this was going on, right?
Yes.
But you went back to 43 Laurel Glen, right?
Yes.
You could have stayed at the corner of Farmhouse Road and Laurel Glen and waited for Mackenzie's sister to pick you up, right?
Looking back, that's what we should have done.
Move to strike as non-responsive.
We'll go ahead and strike the witness's response as non-responsive. Question called for a yes or no answer.
You could have stayed at the corner of Laurel Glen and Farmhouse Road, correct?
Yes.
But you didn't do that, did you?
No.
And you got back in that car with the knife.
Yes.
And you indicated on direct examination you were scared to get back in the car, right?
Yes.
But you did it anyway.
Yes.
And you didn't have to go back to that house, did you? So you get back to the house, right? And you get out of the car, right?
Yes.
It's 52. I may approach the witness, Your Honor. Jack drives the car and stops the car right about here on States 52 in front of his mailbox, right? Right in the middle of the road? Right. There's a car parked here, right? He stops right about here, right?
No, it was really close.
How close to the car? Did you open the door?
I wasn't on that side.
Right, but you were on that side at one point, then, weren't you? Yes. So you could open the door, right?
Yes.
Right. So the car was closer to the center of the road, right?
Yes.
And Tyler gets out of the front passenger seat, right? He walks around the car and onto the grass, right?
Yes.
You saw this, right?
Yes.
You got out of the rear passenger seat on Jack's side, right?
Yes.
And you walk around the car, and you never lost sight of Tyler, correct?
Yes.
So you look at him over the SUV, right? That's what your testimony is?
No, I went around.
You went around the SUV, because you just said that you didn't lose sight of him. So you looked over the SUV to see where Tyler was, right? So my point is, you didn't see him in the marathon, right? You just walked around the car, then you made contact with Tyler again, right?
Yes.
Right. And Tyler was on the left. Tyler was in this area at some point, on the left, right? You were on the right.
On the grass.
You met him here?
No, a little further. Like right with the curve.
Right here.
Yeah. Once in a while. Okay.
So you were on the left. Tyler was on the left, you were on the right, right?
Yes.
You walked up together, right?
Yes.
And when you initially got there were like 10 people in the yard, right?
I can't remember exactly how many. We were first approached by Lily Lombardi.
You indicated on direct examination there were people in the yard, right?
Yes.
You said 10 people at first in the back, correct?
Around there?
They were far back, right?
Yeah.
Close to where that little hole is in the, where they came out of?
It was really dark.
It was really dark, you couldn't see, right? And you didn't recognize anybody at that point, right?
They were too far away.
And you had the knife in your pocket when you got out, right?
Yes.
When people started coming out of the house, were there girls that came out of the house also?
The first person we spoke to was a girl. Before all those people came.
Was there more than one girl at the house, do you recall?
I don't remember.
Well, Lily Lombardi, right? Taylor Capella was there.
I didn't see her.
Do you know Taylor Capella?
No.
Are you saying there was only one girl at the party that night?
I'm saying I only saw her and spoke to one girl.
You only spoke to one girl, but you don't know if there were other girls later on in the evening that were outside watching, right? There could have been. You just don't know. And you said at some point, 30 kids come out, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
We were approached by Rich and everybody else. There were 30 people, right?
No, at first it was around 30 people, and then everybody came out.
And how many of those people were girls?
I didn't see any girls.
You didn't see any girls? So there could have been girls in the back, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And when they came out, you recognized only Tyler Rich, right?
Yeah.
And you had your conversation with Tyler Rich.
Tyler.
So you just stood there?
Yeah.
And Ryan Hines approached you?
Yeah.
And you had a conversation with Ryan Hines?
Yes.
And that was the kid that you had pushed in the head
according to your testimony earlier that night at Lazy Brook, correct?
Yes.
And you were next to Tyler when this was happening?
Yes.
And you indicated on direct examination there were a wall of people at some point in front of you, right?
Yes.
Right? And initially, it was, De Silva was talking to about 10 people. He said that on direct, remember that?
Like there was, all of them were all together, but he was directly
So
talking.
it was like a line of people. It was you, this is Tyler, this is you, and there's a line of people in front of you, right? And there's about 10 people? Giant group of people. And when you're talking to these people, you're asking where Aiden King is, right?
I asked Ryan Hines, I was like, where's Aiden King? That's my boy.
That's your what?
My boy, like my friend.
That's your friend?
Yeah.
You heard Aiden King testify in this case, right?
Yes.
You heard him testify that you said, tell the people get away from the car, I'm going to smash a bottle on somebody's head, right?
Yeah, he said that.
And you indicated on direct examination that you were speaking with 4 to 5 people, right?
Yeah.
You were speaking with Ryan Hines?
Yeah.
Ty Wood? You remember Ty Wood? Do you know who Ty Wood is? You know who Ty Wood is? You don't recall seeing him there that night?
I was mainly talking with Ryan Hines.
And Faison Teal was close by at this point?
I believe so, yes.
And so at some point, were there other people that you recognized there at the time besides Ty Wood, Ryan Hines, and Tyler Rich?
There was a giant group of people. There were so many faces.
But you don't know everybody that was there?
No.
And the knife was in your pocket at this point?
Yes.
And the people you were talking with didn't have any weapons on them, right?
Not that I saw, no.
And you were getting nervous?
Yes.
And you recall at some point, so at the end of your testimony yesterday on direct examination, you indicated that there were 4 to 5 people that you were speaking with, but then today, when you started testifying, you indicated there was 20 to 25 people just on you. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So was it 4 to 5 people or 20 to 25 people?
They were all together. It's not like it was only 4 who came up and talked to us, or they were all together.
And when you're walking up to Tyler Rich's house, they're telling you to leave the property, right?
No.
And when you're walking up to Tyler Rich's house, you see the kids start coming out of the house, right?
Yes.
And at that point, you could have turned around and went back to the car, right?
Yes.
But you didn't do that, right? And at some point, you indicated there were people everywhere, right? And people were saying stuff, right? It was aggressive. People were arguing. You were arguing back. Tyler was arguing back. And you indicated you were smaller at the time, right? Much smaller than you are today?
Yes.
Right. But you felt like you were okay at that point because you had a knife on you, right?
No.
So you approached kids that had just thrown stuff at the car, right?
Yes.
That had dented the car, right?
Yes.
That had jumped and bounced and rocked the car, right?
Yes.
And you were panicked because of it, and you were worried, and you approached these kids at that point at Tyler's house with a knife in your pocket, correct?
Yes.
And at some point in time, you make a move towards Ty Wood, correct? You flinch like you're going to hit somebody, right? And when that happens, you get punched by Tyler Rich, right?
I stuck my hand up for somebody to shake hands.
I would move to strike as non-responsive.
Court's going to strike a portion of the witness's response after no. Okay, so anything after no to the question, please strike from your notes. That's not to be considered evidence.
And at some point, you get hit in the head, right? On the left side of your head, right? And you don't know who punched you, do you? You know now who punched you, right? But at the time, you did not know who punched you, right? Isn't it true that you thought you got hit in the head with a bottle at that point?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a bottle, right?
I don't know.
Right. And you indicated on direct examination at that point, everything went black. How long would you say it went black for?
It's impossible to tell. I have no idea.
You have no idea how, so maybe it was like 2 seconds
Or longer.
or longer? How long? How long?
There's no way to tell.
No way to tell. And your face was in the ground. And all you saw were people hitting and kicking you, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't see any weapons, right?
No, I just saw the ground.
And the knife was in your pocket.
Yeah.
And at some point, people were yelling, right?
They were yelling, yeah.
And people were, you couldn't see, but people were all around you. That was your testimony on direct, right? People were all around you, but you couldn't see. So how were you able to see if people were all around you if your head was in the ground?
Before they hit me, they started like circling me.
But when you were in the ground and you were in the fetal position, you couldn't see who was around you, right?
No, I just felt
You couldn't tell if there was one person engaging you, right?
it was way more than one.
Could you tell if it was one person that was engaging you at that point?
It was way more than
Do
one.
you have eyes in the back of your head?
I can feel it.
Do you have eyes in the back of your head?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
Mr. Valley, you indicated on direct examination that your head was in the ground, right?
Yes.
And you were down on the ground looking at the ground, right?
Yes.
And when your head is down on the ground, could you tell if there were two people engaging you?
I could tell there was way more than two.
Could you tell if there was one person engaging you?
I could tell there was way more than one.
Could you tell if there were three people?
I could tell there was way more than.
Could you tell if there were four people?
I could tell there was way more.
How many people did you see? How many people did you see engage you when you were on the ground looking at the ground?
I just felt stuff coming from everywhere.
So you couldn't tell how many, correct?
Yes.
And you still had the knife on you at that point.
Yes.
And you indicated on direct examination that you lost consciousness. How long would you say you lost consciousness for?
There's no way to tell.
There's no way to tell. So you blacked out, right?
Yeah.
And you lost consciousness, right?
That was at the same time.
That was at the same time. But you don't know how long it was. Would you agree with me that the fight on the video doesn't capture the entire fight, right?
Nah, not anywhere close to it.
The video is about 17 seconds long, right? And the fight in its entirety is probably about 25 to 30 seconds long, right?
No.
No? It's longer than that? Was it like 5 minutes?
No.
How long would you say it was?
It's impossible to tell, especially when you're like in this situation.
45 seconds?
I felt.
It felt like an eternity, though, right? But it was about 45 seconds.
I don't know how long.
You don't know how long it was. But you lost consciousness at some point during that whole altercation, right? And you don't know how long you lost consciousness for. And at some point when you regained consciousness, you took the knife out of your pocket, right?
Yeah.
Now, when the knife was in your pocket, it was closed, right? So you had to take the knife out of your pocket, right? Your right pocket. You had to open the knife, right?
My other hand was covering my head.
Showing you States 95. Picture of is a replica of the knife that you had that night, correct?
I never looked at it.
You never looked at it? But it was a knife that opened in this manner, correct? You had to open the knife?
I don't even remember opening it.
You don't remember opening it? Well, was the knife opened in your right pocket when it was in your pocket?
I don't think so, no.
No. So if this was the knife, or if this is a copy of what the knife looked like, it would have been closed in your pocket, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So when you're on the ground, you stick your right hand in your pocket, you take the knife out of your pocket, correct? And then you proceed to open the knife, right?
No, I don't remember. My other hand, I remember, was the whole time holding my head.
So you opened that knife with one hand?
Yes.
You recall doing that?
No, I don't remember opening the knife.
And when you take the knife out, you have it in your hand, your right hand, right?
Yes.
And you have it in your hand like this, in your fist.
Yeah.
and the blade is up this way, right? And you say on direct examination, you were flailing your arms. Do you remember saying that? And you indicated that you were swinging the knife, right?
Yeah.
Show you states 56. This is Ryan Hines. You remember Ryan Hines from that night?
Yeah.
This is the kid that you say you pushed at Lazy Brook and then did not slam in the head with your helmet. Remember that?
Yes.
He's got a lot of facial injuries. Would you agree?
No.
No? States 83. Would you agree, Mr. Valley, that Mr. Hines has contusions on his head, correct?
I see the one on the top of his head.
You don't see the ones on the side of his head? You don't see that his nose is broken here?
On the side, it just looks like acne.
States 84. You see the contusion on his head?
Yes.
That wasn't caused by your helmet? Did you do that at 43 Laurel Glen?
No.
So somebody else must have done that.
Yeah, I guess.
You have the knife in your hand, and you have it in the fist, right? States 87. And you stab Ryan Hines in his chest and puncture his lung, correct?
Yes.
Like this, right?
Wasn't aiming or anything.
And you stab him in the side. States 89, right? That's not a swipe, would you agree? That's a stab wound, right?
I was flailing my arm around.
That was a stab wound, right?
I was flailing my arm around.
So you're indicating that this is a swipe?
Objection, Your Honor. I think that mischaracterizes the testimony.
Sustained.
States 91. You were flailing your arms. He stabbed it again in the left side, correct?
Yeah.
So he stabbed 3 times, right?
Yes.
States 54, Faison Teal. You remember seeing him there that night, right?
I think so.
And you stabbed him, State 70, once in the upper extremity, in his left arm, right?
Yes.
While you were flailing your arms.
Yes.
That's about an inch or so, right? And at some point, they let you go, right?
Oh.
And when they let you go, at that point, Tommy Connery comes over, right? Because Ryan Hines is now out of it because you just stabbed him 3 times, right?
They never let go of
And
anybody.
Tommy Connery comes over. Remember Tommy Connery? States 55? That's Tommy Connery, right?
Yeah.
And you're down on the ground, right? You're bent over, right? No, you're not bent over.
I was on the ground.
You're on the ground. And you go after Tommy Connery, States 77, and you stab him 4 times in his leg, correct?
I didn't go after anybody.
And at some point in time, you're chased out into the street, right?
Yeah.
And you fall down. You said, according to your direct testimony, is you fall and you skin your hands on the ground.
That was after.
That was after? That was the second time, not the first time. But at some point in time, you go out into the street, right? And we see that in the video, correct?
I got thrown like towards the car.
Right. And you run back to the car, right?
Yes.
And you run back to the car and you go to get in the car, right?
I,
No one chased you to the car, correct?
Yes, I did.
They did. Okay, let's play.
Is this Exhibit 60?
This is Exhibit 60. I need Stop it. Who's this person right here running back to the car? Who's chasing them?
If you back it up a little bit, you see all those people, right?
No, they stopped. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Right here, right? These kids right here?
Yeah.
They're chasing you? They stopped. Right?
I didn't look backwards.
But they stopped, right? The video shows that they're stopped here at this point, right? They're not chasing you up to the car, right?
The camera turns.
Play it again. Just keep playing. That's you, right?
Yes.
And you're at the car by yourself? Stop it. Do you see any kids coming now from your left side if they're chasing you?
I didn't look that way.
But in the video, they're not chasing you, right?
I didn't look that way.
My question to you is, in the video, they're not chasing you to the car, right?
No?
No. They play. Stop. Now, at this point, the kids are retreating back onto the property, right?
I was just looking for Tyler.
So the answer to my question is you didn't see where the kids were retreating back to then, right?
I just looked for Tyler.
But they didn't come after you at the car, right?
I just looked for Tyler. I don't know.
I would move to strike as non-responsive.
Portal strike the witness's last response.
You indicated on direct examination that you were thrown into the car. You remember testifying to that?
Yeah, I was pushed towards the car.
But the video doesn't show you being thrown into the car, does it?
I guess not.
Now, at some point in time, you say you saw Tyler back on the lawn, right?
Yeah.
You still had the knife on you at that point, right? The knife was still out in your hand, right? And you come back into the fight, right?
Yeah.
Now, Tyler's being pushed into the street at this point, right?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that there are no Shelton kids to the right of you, right? There's a car. We can see a car right there, right?
There's kids like right.
There's kids in front of you,
To the right, yes.
but there's no kids right to the right of you. There's a car. We can see the car. If there were, we wouldn't be able to see the car, right?
That's the street.
Right. There's nobody to the right of you, right? There's a kid in front of you.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of kids right
Right. There's a whole bunch of kids over here we can't see, but there's nobody to the right of you, right?
there. There's a kid right next to him.
There's a kid here. But I'm saying, is this you right here?
Yes.
Right. To the right of you, do you see a kid or a car?
That's the street.
That's the street, and there's a car there, right?
Yeah.
So there's nobody to the right of you, right? There's a car.
There's nobody in the street.
And there's nobody to the left of you other than Tyler De Silva, right?
Yeah.
So when you're going back in, there's just a wall like this, right?
It's like this.
Right. But you're not surrounded at that point, right?
At that point, no.
No. But you go back in, and Tyler's already pushed out into the street, right?
The video. I'm on my way back as you.
But Tyler is no longer engaged in the fight, right?
I don't remember.
You don't remember that. So you just blacked out and ran right back into the fold. That's your testimony today?
Being on the yard, and it was just like a shoe horse of people.
A shoe horse, but not a circle. You were not encircled, right?
Like, was there anybody behind me?
Right. There's nobody behind you.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Right. So you could have, if you chose to, but you did not. You could have left. You could have retreated, right?
No.
So you could not have left because there were people around you?
Yes.
So you just said that there was a semicircle of people on the yard. Now you're saying that you were surrounded.
It was like this.
So semicircle, right?
Yeah.
Not a circle. A circle goes like this, right?
Yeah, I wasn't going to turn my back to that many people.
You weren't going to, I'd move to strike as non-responsive, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow the last instance to stand.
You indicated when you made it back to the car, you were still terrified, right?
Yeah.
You were still scared. You came back in anyway, right? With the knife. Right? And you ran over to the edge of the grass, right? And you passed Tyler, right?
Yes.
He passed you on your left, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that you saw Matt Lakovich,
Yes.
but you also indicated on direct you couldn't see who hit you. You said you were hit.
Yes.
You remember saying that? You couldn't see who hit you,
I remember getting hit.
but you don't know who hit you.
I don't think so, no.
Do you recall subsequent during your direct examination, you said Matt Lakovich hit me?
I said it could have been him.
Could have been, but you don't know who hit you. And when you were running back into the fight, you had the knife out, right?
Yes.
And people that were in front of you were defending themselves from you, weren't they?
Oh, they kept coming at me.
They kept coming at you while you had a knife out, approaching them.
I was standing still right there.
You heard Charlie Connery yell, "He's got a knife, he's got a knife," right?
I just heard screaming. I couldn't.
At the time, you don't recall hearing that during the incident, right? But on the video, you hear him yell, "He's got a knife, he's got a knife," right? And you're saying that people engaged you while you had a knife at this point in time?
Nobody backed up.
Nobody backed up, but nobody attacked you.
They were stepping forward, and somebody ended up hitting me.
And you couldn't see who hit you.
No.
And you couldn't see if anybody had a weapon on them at that point, right? And at some point, you indicate that you turned around, well, let's run. At some point in time, you turned, right, to run back to the car, right?
Yeah.
But when you're turning to run back to the car, you see Jimmy McGrath and you stabbed him in the chest, correct?
No. I would never do
Have you
that.
seen the autopsy photos, sir?
Yes.
Did you see where his injuries happened?
Yes.
In his upper left chest?
Yes.
Are you saying you did not stab Jimmy McGrath in the heart?
I didn't plan.
Move to strike is non-responsive.
Total strike, everything after. I'm not sure we got a response, so I will strike the response.
Isn't it true? You just testified that I didn't want to turn my back on these people, right?
Yes.
But you turned your back on these people when you were trying to get out of there, right?
I was facing backwards.
So you were facing backwards. So you're facing the group, and are you backing up like this?
No, I was standing there.
Right. You're not backing up, right?
I got hit.
Right. You're not backing up. And as a matter of fact, this is Jimmy McGrath on the left here, right?
Yes.
And he doesn't have a weapon on him, does he?
Not
He's not engaging you, is he?
stepping forward.
He's stepping forward,
They all stepped forward.
but he doesn't have a weapon on him, does he?
Not that I saw, no.
And it would be unfair for somebody who doesn't have a weapon to be stabbed by somebody who does, right?
I didn't try to stab anybody.
But you stabbed him, didn't you?
Yes.
You turned around and stabbed Jimmy McGrath in his chest.
No.
So you didn't stab him?
I didn't see it happen. I didn't feel me stab. I didn't go up to him and stab him.
Are you saying it was somebody else that stabbed Jimmy McGrath?
I was the only one with a knife.
Correct. You were the only one with the knife. And you turned around and you stabbed Jimmy McGrath in the chest, and then you left, right?
No.
Stop here.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are going to move into full lunch break, and we'll come back and stay there, finish. Sorry, Constance, cross-examination, and then we'll see if there's any redirect, okay? Thank you. Enjoy your lunch. Please, again, remember the rules of the public. Stand some lunch recess until 2 p.m.
All right, what's the recess?
Yeah, that wasn't great. So let's see what else I can find for us. Really quickly, I am going to be heading. It might be just a good place to stop for the day, actually, because we've got some appointments to go to. So I'm going to be heading out here in about 30. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and end for the day, and we'll reconvene tomorrow. Actually, we'll be back tomorrow. So let me stop this thing because it's like it's throwing me off a little bit, to be honest. I don't think that Raul did a great job. I don't think that Lito did a good job on the stand. Do I think it was a traumatic event? Yes. Do I think he intended to hurt people? Yeah. Did he premeditate? Was it premeditation murder? No, I don't agree with that. But child, him taking the stand, I agree with y'all in the comments. He was not well prepped for that. He was not well prepped for that at all. But again, like I said, we've got some doctor's appointments this afternoon, and so I don't want to. I would leave the door open, but honestly, I don't think I'm gonna pay attention enough to get us closed out. So I'll just end us here for the day, and we'll be back tomorrow. So I hope y'all all have a good evening. See y'all later, Telegang. Oh, keep me up to date in the Discord. If you are not in our Discord chat, make sure you hit that link and join our Discord. I'll make another post if you haven't done so already. I'll make another post. Join our Discord. Keep the conversation going. I'll see y'all later.